We have a new enemy in town.
Wellington, Ohio. When I was researching
Don't sleep through dreams that can't come true. No more tears shall drop from your cheeks anymore. You want me to strive for greatness. Believe in me that you don't need to suffer from anything. Don't let go of your dreams. No more tears shall drop from your cheeks anymore. You want me to strive for greatness. Believe in me that you don't need to suffer from anything. Don't sleep through dreams that can't come true. No more tears shall drop from your cheeks anymore. You want me to strive for greatness. Believe in me that you don't need to suffer from anything. Don't let go of your dreams. No more tears shall drop
I am bloodlusted right now.
Again. Is this it? Is this it? We're doing this fucking again. OBS just changed my microphone to one I don't own. It did that. Why'd it do that? That's okay. I was giving away all the fucking Persona spoilers, actually. That's why I cut that music out. Because I have some feelings. And I will repeat myself, and I'm gonna drop my feelings. Persona 5, and very vague, because Persona 4 remake's out, so I don't want to spoil that for anyone new. So, like, just vague shit for that. Here it goes. So, Persona 3 Portable was an amazing... It didn't have the 3D graphics. They took out all the CGI art and made it a visual novel, because it was on the PSP. It was meant to be a JRPG on the go. But it had a special thing with it, that you could be the female protagonist, and it was different. It wasn't the same plot, because you're a woman now, and you're also hot. And all the boy characters are all like, oh my god, look at that hot female, I gotta protect her. And then all the other women in school are like, look at that stupid fucking whore. I bet she's a prostitute. And like, just a whole bunch of dialogue and stuff is different. You can have social links with Junpei, which is interesting because he has a girlfriend, but you can get in there, you know? Akihiko, a must. And it's amazing. Like I said, you're just missing the cutscenes, but are you really gonna play Persona 3 Fez and fucking deal with AI party members? You won't. Okay? Then Persona 4 Golden comes and knocks it out of the park. The battle system's at its definitive. It's easy to level up personas. You don't have to do the random shit no more, like vanilla. The world is saved, right? Okay, but then there's fucking Marie. She doesn't need to be there. She lied in the trailers to me. I thought she'd be a female protagonist, and they'd do the same thing as Persona 3 Portable. Pokemon, years of playing Pokemon has gotten me fucking used to, like, the same game being released over and over again and making billions of dollars. Alright, well, so, you know, you get to the end of Persona 4 Vanilla, the usual affair, fighting the big bad, and then it's like, we go on a ski trip and have to deal with Marie. Her plot's generic, it's stupid, and it's like, I remember the vanilla ending of the game, and it was like the ending of the game. It felt like I earned it, and now this just feels like weird anime filler getting down my throat, and then we're not even talking about the poems. Then Persona 5 comes out. Game of the year. It was great. Sucks that we couldn't use the guns properly. Then here comes Persona 5 Royal. We see it's coming. Here comes Atlus's definitive edition. And I think it insists upon itself. I just... Once again, we fight fucking Yaoi. We fight God. We fight God after dealing with the Japanese election cycle. And then, oh, we gotta deal with the psychologist and this Olympic ring. Oh, and Akechi's alive again. Whatever. Whatever. Pancake Boy is unpancaked. And, like, they gotta, like, make sense of it. It's almost like he's Titus from Final Fantasy X. He's, like, the Faith or whatever. I don't know. This is the video game stream, so I'm just letting loose here. But it's like, I think the end of Persona 5 Vanilla is pretty strong. You shoot God in the head with Lucifer. That's pretty fucking metal. But then it's like, and then you have the scene where you leave all your friends, but it's like, nope, not in this version. We all gotta reunite at Christmas and and go fight another dungeon, even though everybody's level fucking 100 by this point, so nothing matters. It's just a slog, just a grind, just more puzzles. It has awesome music, but it's like, I kind of want my Persona 5 ending, but what, am I supposed to ignore Maruki? Am I just supposed to say, fuck that student counselor, I just want to hang out with my friends? We're gonna discuss that on Sunday, Mike. Anyway, I'm just the more and more I think about it, I don't know if I really am in love with Persona 5 Royal. I would have to replay it again. But, so anyway, video game development. As I said, I had a brain blast, and I'm working on it in secret, because my idea is I want to make a tutorial in different engines. It's just going to be the tutorial. It's all we be setting up. We're not committing to anything, and whatever one is the better experience, that's the winner. Now, like I said, I've already come up with an interesting battle system. Last time we were doing art, Scotty Rich Music over there challenged me to not trace, use references, or I don't know, figure it the fuck out. And I might practice with that today, freehand. And maybe the more we go, I'll let more slip. But yeah, the tutorial thing is the plan. Now, see, I was gonna start with this Wang video, looking up one of the video game videos, because, you know, I love Wang. Easy 10 minutes to start with. Maybe some interesting ideas will come our way. But then, this is over here on the side. What is this? An overdue update on this channel. Guys, I love videos. And 445 views, they blow me the fuck out the water. I love videos where we don't know who they are, but they're apologizing for not updating. That is my favorite genre of all time, actually, and it's right in the title. I gotta watch this. Ignore me. Well, you can't, because we're watching it together. Who is this?
I have a bunch more plug-and-plays from this time, and my New Year's resolution was to make videos for all of them now that my life is finally settling down. I'm relatively confident I could get part 2 out next month.
Absolutely no way. Come back in April.
Alright, Mike, I will work on that when I figure out what the fuck is going on here, and then we will see who the lucky person is. So, this person made a video long ago when they had 85 subscribers, and now they're laughing at themselves.
I burned out way harder than I thought it was possible to burn out. Usually for me,
It's a post-mortem game dev blog, but instead of a game log, it's a person bitching about how they don't update YouTube. Oh, like I said, my genre!
It manifests at the tail end of a fixation, and I feel generally tired, disinterested, just kind of done with it, ready to put it in the bin for a little bit. And that definitely happened a couple times during editing, but especially towards the end, it was...
Remember when PewDiePie would release videos that was like, guys, I haven't updated in 3 days because editing is so hard. Make sure to like and subscribe and listen to me cry about how hard it is and support my Patreon. I hate those YouTubers and their fucking grind. Like I said, you'll never hear me tell you to go anywhere, because I never do.
Extremely intense. Like, during all the final polishes and editing out all the Sony Vegas cuts, it was ridiculous. So by the time the video was, like, done and out, I ended up feeling like an active repulsion towards opening a video editor.
Okay, he has 98 subscribers, and he made a video about how he's burnt out. I haven't uploaded anything in a minute, because I need a recharge, a rethink, trying to improve each time, and we're having fun here right now, but... He said I love this genre.
And God forbid learning a new one, because Sony
It sounds like he's just a robot fucking being like, guys, I haven't made a video in 2 days.
Vegas put me through hell and then some. It was to the point that even thinking of making part 2 made me feel sick. It was difficult to even hold my VG Pocket Max, and it got to the point where, like, the batteries inside the thing have been corroded for
This angry video game nerd and Scott the Woz would never fucking do this to us. Spend so long at making a new video, the fucking batteries have corroded. God damn.
a year now.
I blame you for this.
What I'm trying to build to here
What the fuck did that plushie do?
is that I never started part 2. I never gave it an honest shot because I just got nauseous thinking about it. Like, I do have a good bit of footage from way back before part 1 was done, and some of it is fantastic.
I'll be right back. Real quick.
Wait!
Dude, it was fucking Game Grumps quality fucking game commentary, and we missed out on it.
What? Yay! Oh, wait, baby! 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 That is Wake the Baby.
Isn't it a shame that he hasn't uploaded and we missed that high fucking comedy?
It's the last game in the list. It's probably the best one, and me and my brother had been on that puzzle for like an hour. But like that's all I've got. I haven't done anything since putting out the video. No. I'm not gonna say never, but no, it's not happening. And for brevity, that includes most of the other plug-and-plays. There's like 2.
It's the Sony Vega plug and play. Have some respect. It's a different kind of Let's Play. It's a plug-in Let's Play.
Maybe 3 that I would consider a video on, but not in the comprehensive format that the VG Pocket Max is. I generally don't have a healthy relationship with my projects, my creative projects. When I get fixated on something, I have a tendency to pursue it above all else, even undercutting things I might need to do in my real life, including, like, social obligations. And there are ways to manage.
He's not going to be able to take on the family business because he didn't put out his Sony Vega plug and play review.
That depending on what it is at any given time, but video editing was, like, encompassing every single one of my senses.
Let's Play footage. You put all the footage together. You cut out all the quiet parts that aren't funny. You make a little compilation clip, things just happening. Oh my god. But since you're fucking reviewing something special, then you fucking do Nostalgia Critic intermissions to edit in there where you better explain what this is, why we should care, why we should watch your video. Boom, that's how you do video editing for a Let's Play. I told you.
All at once. And it ended up just being really unhealthy for me. I don't think I could make a video of the same scale ever again. And if I did, it would be like laden with so many audio clicks and errors. There would not be a single fine-toothed comb. I can't do that to myself again. Even if I were insane enough to do that again, a new video editor is non-negotiable. Editing this video, I had an unbelievable audio issue with the corroded batteries clip.
He had an issue with the corroded batteries clip. Arthur's Kitten Boy Wife, what's your favorite 2010 game?
Where suddenly Sony Vegas was just playing gibberish noise at plus infinity decibels by its own readings. No, the screen recording didn't capture it, and you should be happy it didn't. It was the worst noise I've heard in my life. And that alone has been enough of an obstacle for me to just be like, no, part two's never happening. I don't have the energy for that. It's in an extra weird spot in my head since, like...
Now that my life is finally settling down.
No, I won't repeat it, because I don't need you people making Let's Plays on the fucking street.
Yeah, my life has taken a hell of a tumble since then, with event after event after event from, like, a couple weeks before I put out part 1, and culminating in, like, this past March. It's not really at the point where, like, my life has changed forever, but long...
I would hope so, you're just not updating a video to your youtube.com.
Story short, socially speaking, I am a completely different person than who I was when I put out part 1. A big part of why I was so perfectionist was that I used to be kind of a suck-up coward, and that manifested in not wanting to make a single error to seem approachable, I suppose. And I don't think I owe anyone perfection anymore. And I don't want to go back to feeling like I have to. Well, to be honest, I'm not immediately.
We know that getting clean is the easy part. Living's the hard part afterwards. So what now? What happens in a world where you can't edit a video? This is important to me. I'm learning.
Sure. But today is legitimately kind of special, since my one and only album turns 3 years old today. I've showed up basically empty-handed for the last two, and I don't have any music to share, but I'm not going for 3 in a row. So here's something I've been working on for the past 8.5 months now. It's not the most ready.
8.5 months, y'all. This is gonna be fucking Academy Award.
To show. There's still a handful of bugs, and there's a lot of features I need to add, a lot of things I need to streamline, properly test, what have you. But I've gotten
Use OBS and hit record and then cut the bitch.
dramatically further along on this project than I have on anything I've worked on in the past year or so. And I think it's fair to say that there will be more updates, hopefully sometime before the end of this year. Definitely won't be out, mind you, but, like, you'll know more. I've been interested in making devlogs, or otherwise just game dev-related content for...
Thank God. Thank God.
We have a new enemy in town.
He's gonna come for my top RPG Maker Streamer Award.
years now, but I've never been enough of a game dev to do it. And now that I am, I'm not really sure this project is interesting enough to be worth making videos on, but we'll see. Worst case scenario, this definitely won't be like my last game or anything, so I'm positive I'll make at least one, even if it's not the direction I decide to take this channel or anything. A format I was considering is, you know those like week in a life of a game dev videos and it just kind of goes day by day? I've been kind of humming and hawing
How was he able to edit this video?
about the idea of that being like a recurring thing, like just like weekly devlogs, and it might be monotonous, but it also might keep me on top of things and serve as a log for like, when am I doing too much? What days did I not do anything? Why? What have you? I just, again, don't know how entertaining that'll be, especially considering that editing
Probably as entertaining as this.
is usually like intense, and I don't want to be doing that a lot daily or anything. Although being stream of consciousness like this helps a lot with putting things together, I'm enjoying editing this and I could see myself doing this, but again, burnout comes for us all, and especially me. In any case, I think I've isolated myself far too much, and I think
The therapy session that fucking jump scares you at the end. We're gonna get the truth now on why this user hasn't updated their channel.
putting something out in the world, regularly or not, might help me come back out of the shell I've made myself. I'm hopeful, my fingers are crossed, but that's all I got for right now. So until then, I need to find where I put my outro, because I don't know where on my computer that could be.
And much like me, he forgot to hit save when he put the end cards in there. We gotta subscribe to this channel. We'll be 99. Because we gotta see if he puts out the videos every week, or does he put out a video saying I wasn't able to do the devlogs every week? Dude, indeed, he hasn't updated in 1 year. Check out his speed run. I know
Good
this-
morning, afternoon, evening, or night. Go to bed.
His voice has changed.
I was never much of a plug-and-play kid growing up. I only really remember owning an Atari one, which I asked for when I was super fixated on the history of video game consoles, and I couldn't beat Adventure. I still can't. But there was one other exception to that rule, although it's not exactly a plug-and-play. It fits in my hands. It's the VG Pocket Max. Released in 2006 by Performance Design Products, around the time of the Nintendo DS, it's an 8-bit handheld packaged with 75 games, all developed by a company called Jungle Tack. I got my hands on it around the turn of the 2010s from my mom, who said that it stood out amongst the other non-electronic options at Bed Bath & Beyond. This isn't actually the first time I've covered this thing, with the last time being over half my lifetime ago, where I really tried to sell it.
No, this is not a ripoff of Space Invaders.
I'm
Aw, little baby angry video game nerd.
sure, dear. Now please come down for dinner, it's getting cold. I never quite finished that series of videos since the thing broke before it could get to the latter half of the games. You can see it almost failing to turn on in the last recorded part. So I've come back to finish the job 12 years later, with more experienced eyes and the power of emulation.
Oh my god, this has taken 13 fucking years! On this 98 subscriber channel! Man, real talk, you want to make shitty bootleg consoles so poor people can enjoy them? Soulja Boy already did that! Trying to steal from black culture again, are you? Okay, we'll watch the Wang video now. We'll keep an eye out on that channel.
My video about the evil farming game, I came across another game that I hadn't heard of, a game called Moirai. Although Moirai is a game where you take on the role of a farmer in a farming village and it does have horror elements, it is definitely not that evil farming game. Nonetheless, it seemed like a really cool game and I wanted to play it after finding out about it. But there was a problem. You see, you can't play Moirai anymore, and the reason why is actually kinda sad. So for today's video, let's take a look at the story.
Listen up, would-be game developers. We're going to learn on what you're not allowed to do with your game and what'll fuck it up.
Story of Moirai. Although Moirai isn't that farming game where you kill your wife and have to hide the body from the cops, it is a farming game that does involve a murder. But to tell the story of Moirai, we first have to take a look to its creator, an indie game developer from Australia named Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson has a number of games under his belt, including some very simple browser games that you can play on his website. Personally, I got completely sidetracked when I was making this video while playing his Gem Thief demake.
Paid advertisement. I noticed we just got past the sponsor part for Manscaped.
And during the early 2010s, Chris was spending most of his time developing another deceptively simple game, a game called Expand. Expand is a game where you traverse a dynamic, expanding circular maze. The object of the game is pretty simple: complete the maze without getting crushed. It's a seemingly easy task that gets more and more difficult as the game progresses. Chris invested all of his time, effort, and money into the development of Expand over the course of the next few years. It was an investment that he had hoped would propel his career as an indie game developer. And after several years of development, Expand would finally be released in September of 2015 on Steam. Although it received mostly positive reviews,
2015 games. That was the year before Persona 5. There's only after P5 and before.
on Steam, it was far from being the success that Chris had hoped for. With how complex and demanding the development of a game like Expand was, Chris would find himself often needing to take a break. He needed another project to work on, something that
Just like the last YouTuber. Man, here's my video on why my game isn't done. Yandere Dev's whole career.
helped reset his brain during the development of this game. This side project was called Moirai, and Moirai was another short, simple game. It begins when the people of this humble farming village tell you, a farmer, about a woman named Julia. Julia's husband had passed away the year prior, and now her son had gone missing in the nearby cave. Now Julia had gone missing, and moans were heard from the cave. Was it her? So you take it upon yourself to go searching in the cave for Julia, and very quickly you find another farmer covered in blood. And you can ask him some questions. What are you doing here? Why are you covered in blood? Why do you have a knife? To which he might respond something like, "Brother, I just elbow dropped King Kong Bundy to Hulkamania. Spare me to join Hulkamania and be like me, Hulk Hogan." So why the fuck does Hulk Hogan exist?
Boo! He's dead. Y'all, he might have been murdered. I seen that there might reopen his case, along with Kurt Cobain's. We'll get justice for our celebrities no one gave a fuck about, really.
Exist in the canon of a farm game. Well, you see, this part of the game was completely different for everybody who played it.
I heard moans, what have you done? How to finish this game? What? What the hell are you talking about?
I heard moans, what have you done? I've masturbated and spread my cum over the dead body of a strange. What?
How could that be possible? Where are these answers coming from? Well, let's keep on going. So, after you encounter the farmer, you wind up finding Julia in the cave. She's dying and covered in blood and asks you to put her out of her misery, which you can either decide to spare her or kill her. No matter what you choose, you wind up covered in blood, and then as you traverse back through the cave, you encounter another farmer. This farmer asks you the same questions that you asked the other farmer, but this time you can fill them out with whatever you feel like. Ask how you beat the game, talk about cum, talk about Hulkamania, anything goes. And when that's all done, you enter your name and your email address, and later on you'll get an email telling you what happened to your character. It was a pretty interesting social experiment wrapped up in a very simple game, and in an interview with PC Gamer, Chris explained his reasoning for doing this. From most players' perspective, when they run into the person in the cave for the first time, they think of them as an NPC, not an actual person, Moirai designer Chris Johnson told me over the phone from Adelaide. I think there's an interesting element in that. There's a certain codified language about how people approach games, and one of those things is that most
This is true. When I first played Undertale, I was like, I can kill the frogs, though. They're not monsters. They're not people. They're fucking frogs. They eat frog legs in this world, don't they? Where the fuck do the burgers come from?
most of the characters you'll interact with will be some pre-programmed thing, unless the game is explicitly a multiplayer one. I thought it was an interesting thing to subvert that expectation. You don't realize the other player is actually a player. You see them as an NPC. Moirai was quietly released in 2013 when it received a modest amount of playthroughs. But in 2016, a year after the release of Expand, Chris decided he would also put Moirai up on Steam. And he did not expect what would happen next. The game goes extremely viral. You've got massive YouTubers like Jacksepticeye playing it on their channels, and everyone who watches him playing it and putting it on their channels. The game wound up hitting #1 on Steam. And while it seems like this might be a very unlikely game to get that kind of attention, it's very obvious to me what the appeal of it is. You see a game like this, and you're like, A, how can I fuck with the other people who are playing this game? And B, how are these people going to try to fuck with me? Despite the simplicity of the game, every single playthrough was a unique experience, and it was free. But as Chris explained to CNET, this wasn't quite the dream it might have seemed like. It was fucking awful. Johnson was utterly unprepared for Moirai's overwhelming success. Being an online project that required storage and server implementation, Johnson hadn't planned for the scale Moirai required now that hundreds of thousands of people were trying to play the game at once. Moirai had received roughly 40,000 playthroughs
Literally suffering from success. We don't ever get this game dev story.
on other websites prior to the Steam launch, and the service had held up. Johnson couldn't have predicted or prepared for the onslaught. Moirai's database crashed, almost instantly, and Johnson, who was spending Saturday with his family, was blissfully unaware until he arrived home later that night. In that short space of time, Moirai had gone from receiving glowing reviews from every corner of the internet to being called an email scam, all in a short 24-hour period. But despite all the stress, all the costs, being called a scam artist, and the fact that he was making absolutely no money on this game, Chris did everything he could to keep those servers online. And at the same time, a number of people had been reaching out to him, warning him of potential exploits in his database. He managed to fix some of these exploits, but realistically he was just juggling too many plates at once. He simply did not have the time and resources to fix everything, and that's when it happens. His database becomes flooded with tens of thousands of new entries. He tries to get rid of them, but then thousands more pop up. There's just no way for him to keep up. It clearly wasn't that this many people were playing the game, but rather that someone was trying to bring the game down, and this person left some clues. The entries flooding Moirai's database referenced a username, and that username was a link to a YouTube page. Weird. On the About page, multiple references to Johnson. The YouTube page linked through to a Twitter account littered with posts about Johnson, about the failure of
Aw, they must be stalking him like Reckless Ben. Call in the SWAT and take away his bail.
Expand about his abilities as a developer. Derogatory tweets aimed at Johnson specifically. It was almost like the person who hacked Moirai was leaving a trail. And it got even worse when the hacker went to the Steam forums and shared the script he was using to attack Moirai. At this point, Chris realized that it was futile. There was just absolutely nothing he could do to keep this game up. So he took the game down and left this message. Moirai is no longer available to play. Thank you to everyone for taking an interest in our little game. Chris, John, and Brad. After the game was taken down, Chris received a message. Hello. Johnson recognized the username. It was the same person who posted the script on his forums, the script used to take down Moirai's servers. The same person who had hacked and destroyed Moirai. He had tracked Johnson down and messaged him directly. Johnson replied. You looking for attention? Johnson prodded. A pause. Yes, I'm looking for attention. Johnson was baffled. He asked the only question he could think to ask at that point. What did you think of the game? An awkward conversation ensued and the hacker gave a tidbit of his identity. As it turns out, the hacker was also a game developer. He asked
Done! Wow, I thought everybody just wanted to be artists and create and all uplift each other. What is this? This is for regular run-of-the-mill programmers to have such bitch drama. My gosh.
Chris if he wanted to play his game. Chris declined. And that's the end of the Moirai story, and I think there's a lot of lessons to be had.
Don't give King of the Hill new season spoilers!
In this story. As a creator, sometimes you'll have these projects that you pour everything into, all your time, all your money, all your effort and expectations, and it just never catches on the same way as something you did for shits and giggles. There's stories of that you can see across just about every single medium. And then there's the lesson that if it's possible for somebody to fuck with something, someone's gonna fuck with it. Or maybe they shouldn't fuck with it, but unfortunately we do not live in should world. But anyway, best of luck to Chris, who does continue to develop games to this day. But that's all for now. If you like this video, you'll probably also...
Everybody likes Wang, except that Mad X fellow. Alright, now we're getting to the fun stuff. That was our fun, cheery warm-up, and, you know, I had to watch that video. But what about developers who admitted their game sucked? In the game, we got a Larry Bundy Jr. video, the video game guru.
In the world of sunshine, lollipops, and being able to play single-player games offline, developers pour their hearts and souls into passion projects for all to share the fruits of their creative gifts. But in that wretched thing called commercial reality, teams, time, budgets and expectations need to be juggled, meaning disaster has multiple ways it could strike. Under the cosh, developer duress can boil over into explosive rants, emotional outbursts, and even the most embarrassing apologies for failing to deliver their promises.
Hello, my name is Peter.
We're gonna see their worst moments, these game developers. What the fuck is this sweater? Is that Broly? Is that Pumpkin Face Broly?
What you won't find on your bingo card, however, is the unfiltered, candid declaration, you think our game is a steaming pile of crap? Well, we agree. If that wasn't enough, not only are these truths reserved for brutally honest interviews years later, but, astonishingly, sometimes they're even within the game itself. So, this episode, we take a look at these developmental damnations, these programming professions, and these self-incriminating scriptings.
Why does this guy, I've seen his videos before, it sounds like we're about to see like a Disney World, you know, fucking trailer video to consider if we want to buy tickets or not.
As I say. But, hello you. I'm Guru Larry, and I welcome you to Fact Hunt. Developers who admitted their game was crap within the game. Sports games were 10 a penny on the Sega Genesis and Mega Drive. One such title in this tsunami of sports ball popularity was World Championship Soccer 2, the 1994 follow-up to World Championship Soccer. No prizes for guessing that one. Well, unless you was in Europe, where the original went by World Cup Italia 90, an officially licensed tie-in for the 1990 FIFA World Cup.
Everybody enjoying their football information. I think making a sports game would be interesting. I don't care about sports, but if you did, it'd be like, finally, I can make a Madden for the real people who don't like that playbook.
Hoping to cash in on World Cup fever, the sequel launched alongside the 1990.
Or you could just be Jared Kushner and buy EA. Fix your problems that way.
94 tournament in the United States. Behind the scenes, development was handled by Sensible Software. Yes, that Sensible Soccer team. However, despite being such a high-profile developer, Sega...
That seems like a very British thing to name your company. We're Sensible. Sensible with Sega.
Strangely kept their involvement firmly under wraps. So, alternatively, the developers were credited as the enigmatic Mystery Chefs. A cover story that survived until 2013, when the Megabytes blog finally spilled the beans in an interview titled Sega's Soccer Secret Revealed. Stu Cambridge, Sensible Software's artist, expressed that the decision to hide their involvement was likely contractual, with Sega wanted to keep focus squarely on their own Sega Sports branding by downplaying the role of external developers. Producer Wallace Paul.
That's kind of rude. I thought there's room on the credits screen and intro screen for everybody.
Also revealed that a lack of a license meant that the England player names consisted entirely of his junior school football team. But this wasn't the only ingredient the Mystery Chefs added to spice things up. Football fans expect foul language in the stadium, but not buried in their game cartridge. Stored in the ROM was the following text shown here. Adding spaces and deciphering, the message reads, I am very, very bored and very, very tired. I just This game sucks cock twice over.
Tell us how you really feel.
Cheap shit can't even come up with a real password screen. Bullshit cocksucker arsehole.
That kind of is fun, though, writing shit about your coworkers and your job and your script and it getting discovered like a message in a bottle many fucking years later.
Vocabulary like that, you'd think the Mystery Chef was Gordon Ramsay. The game's passwords were dynamically generated. You know, the kind that you jot down in a manual because sell-on value wasn't considered back then. Porter recalled that the Sensible team had a mere 3 to 4 months to develop the game in its entirety. Sega's US head of development didn't believe they'd even finish it. FIFA's 11th hour decision to change the group points from 2 to 3 didn't help either, so no wonder the programmers' heads were ready to pop. Whilst the culprit has never been confirmed, speculation would point to Chris Yates, co-owner of Sensible Software, alongside John Jops Hare. He was the lead coder, but that's another credit that remains shrouded in mystery at the time of writing. Astonishingly, it wasn't until 2013 that the discovery of the secret message in a code appears to have first been made public, blowing the whistle on this foul-mouthed attack on the game within the game itself. This wasn't the only discovery. Also found in the code was a high IQ joke, "Help, I'm trapped in a Sega cartridge factory." Well,
now that's a funny name.
We've heard worse jokes in 90s video games.
We hope it was a joke, because it's been a couple of decades now. In the end, the use of a pseudonym made sense. I mean, after all, sensible software would never stoop so low to include that level of profanity in their own video games after all, would they? Would they?
Which one?
Arcade to home computer ports always bring the thrill of the cabinet straight into your living room, right? Just like Pac-Man for the Atari 2600. Oh dear.
I own that game. I just put it on a shelf. If I find Atari games at garage sales or cheap at an antique store, I get them bitches and I use them as decoration because I love the art.
That was a hard pill to swallow. Sorry, too early to get me coat. But surely you can't go on tarnishing coin-op classics with butchered home conversions, can you? Sure you can! 1991 saw Street Fighter II The World Warrior become an arcade worldwide phenomenon. To capitalise, Capcom licensed it to home computers, the Amiga, Atari ST, Commodore 64, MS-DOS, and the 128K ZX Spectrum, with an Amstrad CPC port advertised but ultimately cancelled. All of which were published by US Gold, besides the PC ports that was published by High Tech Expressions in North America, and were developed by Creative Materials. Except for the infamous ZX Spectrum port. Developed by the also infamous Tiertex, because Human Killing Machine went so well, didn't it? It was released in 1993 as the Spectrum was already being phased out. The in-house developed SNES port was a stunning hit, but a port for the Specky on its last legs? Why? Well, one can only assume for some license-slapping wonga. Anyhow, Spectrum users were surely ecstatic by the...
These users with their Spectrum device. SNES was my first. I started out strong.
prospect of playing Street Fighter II on their beloved home computer, given the arcade's sonic boom in popularity. Little did they know, however, it wasn't only Blanca that would give them a shock. Load
Boo!
the tape and you'll be greeted with a message: due to machine limitations, this version may differ from examples in the manual. May differ, Tiertex. Even Dulcim would be impressed with a stretch that big. You see, the manual was mass-produced broadly for the entire range of US Gold ports for both 8-bit and 16-bit releases as a shared booklet to keep the costs down. The instructions were therefore non-specific to the computer you were playing on. Even the back cover shows a gorgeous full-colour screenshot, unrecognisable from anything you see in...
Okay, Arthur. Mike said $5 to anybody, so you're getting an NFT. I'll show you what I made you. It's totally a Mass Effect alien ready to beat your ass. Totally. Let's just make it pretty now. This is everything that represents 2010 gaming.
Game, with the cheeky disclaimer, screenshots are intended to be illustrative of the gameplay and not the screen graphics, which may vary considerably. Silly me to assume screenshots on the box might actually be in the game I was purchasing. What you actually got was still a respectable feat, given the Spectrum's limitations. Nonetheless, it should have remained an intriguing experiment, with the two-colour restriction certainly bearing no resemblance to the vibrant screenshot show. The iconic soundtrack has almost been completely erased, barring the title screen's random use of Balrog's theme, a poor rendition of the character selects music, and generic beeps and crunches. And no music during the fights whatsoever. It could have been worse. The C64 port plays the short looping character select music throughout every bout. Even that version had the admission, due to the limitations and spec of this machine, some of the implementation
Well, it's okay for modern day games to release 75% unfinished. Like, people don't know this, but No Man's Sky, a lot of people actually play that because it is everything it was promised now. But, like, they just straight up put out a shit game and said, we'll fix it on updates. That's, like, normal. But let's bully the ones from 1992.
Contained in the manual may be incorrect. But it's the Spectrum port that earned the infamy. Controls were unresponsive and limited to the one-button system. Special moves felt impossible to pull off. Collision detection was infuriating. And animations were broken. To cap it off, to experience that devastating combo for around 5 minutes of gameplay could cost you up to 20 minutes of loading time. Vega's been
It's just as good as Bloodborne, then.
handed 2 claws, and neither fall off. Then again, breakable objects in each stage was a unique touch. So take that, arcade suckers! Over 3 decades later, in 2026, an unofficial remake titled Sweet Fighting Plus 2 by developer ZX Presh finally gave 128K owners the game they deserved. All 12 characters are now playable with vastly improved gameplay and sound, demonstrating what could have been. But as it turned out, this opening confession should have been treated like the continue screen. Feign empty pockets, walk away, and save yourself copious amounts of loading time, and all the ensuing Zan grief.
Don't talk to me that way, Saber Spark PNG with a Hawaiian shirt.
I think my coat's been stolen. For the benefit of those who grew up flossing in Fortnite, manuals used to be tucked away in a game's physical case. I know.
I feel like that reference is dated.
Oh, imagine that. To give guidance, list controls, and tell you not to take your cartridge for a swim if you want it to work. What they weren't designed to do was to tell you your game's been stripped of quality, so it's not that good. Take 1984's Pac-Land. 8-bit home ports informed in the manual, please note, there is no Fairyland.
I didn't know this game existed. I thought the Pac-Man World shit on GameCube was like something new. Look at our different spin.
Sequence on the Spectrum, Amstrad, and MSX due to machine limitations. Likewise, Grand Slam's 1987 adaptation of Tom Clancy's debut novel The Hunt for Red October's manual admitted that machine limitations meant they ripped out features, like the terrain window. But there's one botched beat-em-ups manual that shines above the rest. Double Dragon. In fact, it's often been dubbed one of the worst conversions ever released. The 1988 Commodore 64 version of Double Dragon was published by Melbourne House, a Mastertronic label in Europe, with the coding done by Binary Design. However, it's fair to say they didn't quite deliver the Code of the Dragon. You see, the Commodore 64 port includes a rather quirky abnormality, the infamous waist gap, where characters ran around as if their torso was detached from their legs. A letter to the player was written in the manual. Dear games player, due to our Herculean task of cramming as many as possible of the multitude of animation and graphic elements that make up the arcade
blame the genre. We've seen this before.
Game into the Commodore 64, we were faced with a problem. To get both 1 and 2 player options and to achieve the authentic feel of 2 player simultaneous action simply took more memory than we had available. But we knew how disappointed you would be if the game didn't have the same 2 player mode as the arcade game you know and love. So we came up with a memory saving solution. We implemented sprite stacking techniques to create the animated characters using 2 smaller sprites instead of 1 larger one to create each.
I don't recommend this fix. I don't know who's developing a fucking fighting game, but don't do this fix.
Figure. The resulting small gap you may notice in the characters at waist level is the compromise that the architecture of the Commodore 64 forced us to make. This should not impair your enjoyment of the game in any way. Entirely reasonable. However, it was far from a full fess up. Oh no, the compromise goes much further than missing midriffs. With small sprites, clunky combat, extremely limited attacks, and the enemies being virtually all identical, it was a renegade from its arcade counterpart. What's more, the weapon pool was highly reduced. Ladders were unclimbable background decorations. The player versus player fight at the end was completely cut, and the game was virtually silent, besides whacks and groans. So much for should not impair your enjoyment in any way then. Zap magazine slammed the port, calling it absolutely pathetic and awarding it a measly 15%. Later disassembly work proved that the waist gap can in fact be narrowed with tighter coding. But the original effort stands as a prime example of...
And that was Pirate Software's father's first game when he was thinking, I'm gonna name my first son Thor.
futilely cramming an arcade hit into home hardware that simply cannot compare. Billy and Jimmy Lee fans were left gut-punched. So, in a limited distribution in 1991, Ocean Software released a second Commodore 64 port of their own on a 32K banked Switch cartridge, eliminating the infamous waist gap, and everyone lived happily forever. Except there was now no two-player whatsoever, and the game was still majorly flawed and hampered by the hardware. The confession stowed in the game's manual is worthy of sympathy, but ultimately it didn't provide much solace. In fact, Nick Speakman of Binary Design later apologised and explained they only had approximately 6 to 7 weeks to complete the entire game. Addressing the manual's letter to the player, he recalled, "I do remember it had to be..."
Okay, answering on a Reddit, I was like, did they... Like, I mean, they write things in the game manuals. I can't believe the project leader, the company, lets them fucking say this game's shit. Do they still have time to return it to Toys R Us?
Two-player, which added more compromises to the game. I'm guessing we were just embarrassed at the gap and lacking enough time to get the game out in time, make it look sort of playable, and not look completely crap. And so, for those immune to the manual's gaslighting, games players rushing home to fire up their Double Dragon got a double dose of disappointment instead. Descent to Undermountain was a first-person RPG, developed and published by Interplay.
I've played a game very similar looking to this, but I don't remember no pirate like this.
Located beneath the city of Waterdeep within the Forgotten Realms campaign of the second edition of Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, you play as an adventurer hired by Kelben Blackstaff Aronson to investigate mysterious activities linked to the Mega Dungeon. Choosing from one of 6 races, the game uses AD&D 2nd edition rules for things like character progression, spell limits, and multi-classing. A 360 3D AD&D role-playing game? Sounds awesome, doesn't it? Well, Interplay decided to use a modified version of Parallax Software's engine from Descent, the 1995 spaceship shooter. So, who could have foreseen compatibility issues there? Space? Dragons? All the same thing, really. Descent was a true 3D polygonal shooter with full 6 degrees of freedom movement. So when Interplay landed the AD&D license, they figured they could repurpose its award-winning engine to create the first fully 3D first-person D&D dungeon crawler. However, Descent's engine was built for fast-paced, zero-gravity spaceship combat with distant collision spheres. Adapting it to the utter mismatch of slower-paced, close-range melee combat with ground-based exploration required heavy rewrites. causing massive delays and budget overruns. Not only was combat predictably awkward, crashes and slowdowns added to the calamity, and hilariously, enemies would float in midair.
So it's just like any old Assassin's Creed game that are the best-selling games when they come out.
As if they were inextricably tied to the game's original zero gravity. But hey, at least the box art looked awesome. Oh wait, it had absolutely nothing to do with Descent to Undermountain, and was just lazily lifted artwork from Clyde Caldwell's 1988 painting for the Forgotten Realms novel Spellfire, which had already been slapped onto a previous D&D game, Order of the Griffin. Farcical. Tasked with a 1997 Christmas release, inevitably, it was rushed. While some copies made it to store shelves by late 97, the official release was 15th of January the following year, meaning they got the worst of both worlds. A catastrophic dumpster fire that was out too late for most seasonal shoppers anyway. The insistence on a seasonal release saw several levels cut, and unforgivably, multiplayer was advertised on the box and in promotions, but wasn't even in the game. To the surprise of no one, reception was negative, and it's often cited as one of the worst D&D games ever made. Interplay were not oblivious to this fiasco. Before it was patched,
I mean, it kind of... everybody was doing this 3D background that looks like the screensaver type thing since Doom. Like I said, I've played games like this. Well, actually, it had a better UI than this. I think it was an old Elder Scrolls game. Not Morrowind, of course, but like old.
During the end credits, a recording could be heard of the team jokingly discussing what the credits theme music should be. They mock the game's leftover budget and flippantly suggest using a tune of Jingle Bells in reference to the Christmas haste.
We're trying to figure out what kind of music we're going to have for the credits. The budget is about $8. We can't hire much of a band.
That's pretty good.
Was that all? Oh no, this was nothing compared to what they did later. The following year saw release of Fallout 2, the critically acclaimed post-apocalyptic RPG from Black Isle Studios, an internal division of Interplay. Sprinkling in satirical humour, the game contains a self-deprecating Easter egg that pokes fun at just how badly Descent to Undermountain was received. In the game, you'll find a magic 8-ball that gives random fortune teller style answers. Occasionally, it replies with gags instead, one of which reads, "Yes, we know Descent to Undermountain was crap." Yep, the developers there, verbatim.
It's more honest still. Every time I think about the game Life is Strange, I think about the delivery of, wow, that's a large plasma TV. I would love to sneak in here and watch Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within. Everybody says it's an awful movie, but I find it a cutting-edge piece of technology. That's what destroyed Squaresoft. They can't let it go.
Calling their own game crap. They know you know their game is crap. And they agree. Thanks, Magic 8-Ball. We'd have never known. Honourable mentions goes to Vindicators, where pressured programmer Mike Hiddleston wrote the hidden message, "My apologies to anyone disappointed with the game, but don't blame the coder." And Enterprise, where the game's files contain backward speech that, when reversed, disparagingly quipped, "Enterprise is rubbish." They're not going on this list as we've covered those in previous episodes. But how could we omit the most notorious in-game rant ever discovered? Whilst touched on previously, there was one aspect of this outrageous outburst we didn't cover. Spoiler alert, it's the bit where he calls the game crap. The new Tetris was a creatively named 1999 entry in the franchise developed by H2O Entertainment with Blue Planet Software co-developing and guiding design. Remaining faithful to the core Tetris formula we know and love, it added welcome modern features like a hold piece, ghost piece, wall and floor kicks, and the innovative square mechanic. The goal was to give Tetris a modern 3D facelift worthy of the Nintendo 64 hardware, with real-time rendered scenic flybys and dazzling backgrounds. Critical reception was largely favourable, with many fans considering it
The real ones played Pokemon Puzzle League, I'll have you know.
one of the best traditional Tetris console entries. Despite the admiration, the game was originally planned for the 64DD disc drive with extra animated backgrounds, but Nintendo switched to cartridge only midway through development. Stacked on top of this, developer crunch meant the game didn't quite line up perfectly when it dropped. Launching with hitches such as unpolished mechanics, occasional slowdown, and a repeatable crash confirmed by a tester that wasn't eliminated, which obviously deemed rare enough to not bother fixing. Not long after release, it was discovered by ROM hackers that written in the game's code were concealed long text strings by Canadian programmer David Preedy. What was unearthed was a shocking, unfiltered tirade titled Dave Rant. And
Guys, it's time to rant on a user.
boy, did David have
No one else did dick fuck all for code, so shut your fucking traps. Told them, get out of our code, you filthy hackers, bitches. Someone knew this would be looked at.
some attack lines. Lambasting his quote useless producer for stupid spreadsheets and playing StarCraft and EverQuest instead of working, he also drew a weed leaf and wrote the infamous McRant, a list of his 56 most hated things in the world, including Budweiser, racists, Celine Dion, and bums with dogs. Well, what other list?
Hating Celine Dion. That's as fucking anti-Canadian as we get.
Would it be? But relevant to this episode, he also wrote in what was one of the more grounded parts of his frenzied diatribe. This game sucks. The music is great, but the game itself is not how we wanted it, unfortunately. Could use another month to finish this thing off after all the bugs are fixed. Oh well, woe is me. Learning of this dumbfounding hard drop in the game's code sent Nintendo into a T-spin, especially as number 52 on his hate list was Nintendo and everything about them. Whoops! Talk about bad manners. David tragically passed away on the 12th of January 2001 at the young age of 29 from a sudden bronchial asthma attack.
And he'll always be remembered as that guy who said, I'm the only fucker who coded this.
At his home in California. A further discovery in the ROM code found that he left the words, "Well, boys and girls, I just thought I would immortalise some thoughts I have at the moment into a ROM which will be burned forever." On the official memorial page created by his close friend and new Tetris lead artist Christopher Bretz, it explains, he figured it was a small piece of immortality and no one would find it for years, if at all. Dave Rant now has its permanent place in gaming folklore. In its entirety, the raw, chaotic coding embedded in the game turned out to be exactly what he hoped. A small piece of immortality that Tetris fans are still talking and chuckling about decades later.
Well, those aren't the most humorous people, you know? Okay, that was a pretty good one. Alright, I'm gonna take a 5-minute break, very quick, and I'm glad that, you know, you're feeling that sadness. Because, you know, one of the things we do like to do on this channel, and I'm trying to find out many ways to incorporate it into things. Body cams are always fun, but we got video game related murders today. Gonna take a look at some of that. who you don't want in your audience. Anything that feeds these crazy people's illusions, don't do it. Because they know they can't handle the pot, and they'll smoke it, and then they'll smoke it, and then they'll kill 70 people in the name of Rockstar or some. I don't know. BRB. You know who didn't stay? The people who've been murdered by video game, or video game players, or those at Target wishing to buy a video game system. Here's the wildest crimes committed by gamers! Dun dun dun! Dun dun dun.
Ohio, population 5,000. A 16-year-old walks into his living room and asks his parents to close their eyes because he has a surprise for them. Fayette, Alabama, population also 5,000. An 18-year-old sits in a police booking room at 3 a.m. waiting to be processed for a stolen car. Shanghai, China, a 41-year-old man walks
Crime's not legal in China.
Out of a police station having just been told that the thing stolen from him wasn't real enough to protect. 3 different people, 3 different locations, 3 different situations. How could all of these be connected? Video game. Welcome back to Crime is Fun, my new podcast where I'm taking a theme and giving you digestible cases and stories.
Is that Donut Operator or my nuts? Is this another channel?
Related to crime. I'm your host, Donut, and I've spent the past decade.
It is! I didn't know he had this channel. He used to be a cop, everybody. Watch out.
Telling true crime stories on my other channels. Don't commit crimes. That's not what I mean by crime is fun. Crime is just fun to listen to, is it not? As we say in the first responder world, you laugh so you don't cry. Today we are going to talk about video games, and before you disengage, we aren't talking about them in the video games cause violence sense, because that conversation is tired and annoying. Contrary to popular belief,
nope, I think it should come back, but it doesn't matter, leave the adults fuck alone. You can buy beer and everything else to make you crazy. But I think we need to start shaming some parents. I think these kids that grow up playing it at a fucking young age, and then they're already desensitized to violence due to wherever they're from, like, it's being a bad combo. Like, that's why we have idiots, right, driving on the wrong side of the fucking road, because GTA. He does body cam reactions normally, and since he used to be a cop, he puts in his tidbits.
I am not a boomer. When I started researching stories for this episode, I was genuinely shocked at how much information is out there about crimes that have involved video games in some way. But I think I've distilled it down to 3 of the craziest stories that oddly happened around the same time in the early 2000s. And when I say video game crimes, I'm not talking about swatting. We already had an episode on that. These crimes have a lot to do with video games. They have nothing to do with calling the police to kill someone who you're playing video games with. Our first story takes place in Wellington, Ohio, which is the kind of town where nothing happens. This tiny town is 20 miles outside of Cleveland, Ohio, and is home to only 5,000 people. Wellington is quiet, surrounded entirely by farmland, and its biggest claim to fame is that it used to be called the cheese capital of the world.
Dude, is this where Cheese Haven is? Anyway, Pirate Software is just a spoiled fucking brat who probably doesn't act, the parents just assume he doesn't act like that in public, and he does.
No one poops there. How is someone going to leave a comment on my last Crime is Fun and say, you should stop making jokes, it ruins the story? This podcast isn't called Crime is Boring or Crime Isn't Fun. Anyways, you know small towns. There's a church on every corner, cows everywhere, state parks, and one big high school where everybody goes. Sounds a little bit like my own hometown in Alabama, which is exactly why when something did happen there, it made national news. On October 20th, 2007, a 16-year-old named Daniel Petrick walked into his living room, asked his parents to close their eyes because he had a surprise for them, and gave them a cake that he baked. I'm just kidding. He shot them both in the face over Halo 3. I mean, that game.
Maybe Arthur's kitten boyfriend would fucking agree this was justified.
Game is one of the best of all time, but I'm probably not going to shoot my parents in the head because of it. Now, before.
Well, has anybody ever seen the genre, and you never know if it's fake or real, of the parents destroying the video games and cell phones and shit in front of kids? That shit. I always think, yeah, that's funny until they pull out a fucking gun and shoot you. Maybe that's what happened.
Before we get into Daniel specifically, I wanted to take a second and talk about what usually happens anytime a gamer does something violent. And if the name Jack Thompson means nothing to you right now, hold on to it, because the same disbarred Florida attorney who spent years arguing that violent video games were murder simulators, the same guy who sued Rockstar Games, Sony, Walmart, and GameStop over a triple homicide in Alabama, later came back around and tried to get Daniel Petrick a new trial in 2021. But this case involved a different game in a different state with a different kid. We'll get to him in a minute. I want to be clear here, I'm not here to tell you that Halo 3 turned Daniel Petrick into a killer. The research on violence in video games is pretty clear and it does not support a direct correlation. Look at me, I grew up playing video games and I'm perfectly stable. What I am here to do is tell you exactly what happened in order and let you make your own call. Because what happened.
You had parents and you, like, became a cop, so you're probably a responsible fucking gun owner. You're not a fucking, you fucking poor kid living in the trailer park with nothing more to do, and then Uncle Roddy shows up with a gun and says, wouldn't it be funny if we just blow heads off? You're like, okay.
happened is actually genuinely fascinating in a way that proves even further the gray area of any link with violence in video games. Daniel Petrick was born August 24th, 1991. He grew up in Brighton Township right outside Wellington. His dad, Mark, was a Pentecostal minister and New Life Assembly of God. These were small-town, church-going, seemingly all good people. I can imagine this type of household is the one where rules were clear, expectations were high, and a mature-rated video game about shooting aliens was not exactly on the approved list of extracurricular activities, but wasn't a fight worth having. By all accounts, Daniel was a pretty normal kid before everything went sideways. He was active, he liked being outdoors. He loved to snowboard in Ohio, but Ohio mountains are mostly just big hills with an ego, but he was out there nonetheless doing things in nature. But then he suffered an injury. The exact nature of the injury varies depending on which source you read. Some say snowboarding, some say skiing, and his sister's court testimony specifically says a jet ski. What everyone agrees on is whatever he did, he got a staph infection serious enough that his doctors told him the slightest additional physical impact could leave him paralyzed. He went home and he stayed home for approximately a year. Think about being a 16-year-old teenage boy, especially if you enjoy hiking, contact sports, or even just having a game of pickup basketball with your neighborhood friends. At that age, your entire life is one big physical event.
That guy Lanny Batur got injured and couldn't play on his rugby team, so he made fucking abridges. And we have TFS abridged. Life gives you lemons and you make lemonade, folks. You do all the time when you're fucking disabled or injured to do all your nerd shit you've wanted to do. Who's gonna bully you? You're the disabled.
You play sports, you hang out, you go outside, you do stupid shit with your friends, you fall down, you get back up. Your body is your way of experiencing the world, and the world just kind of took that away from you. I would be devastated at 16. That means no more being dragged on an old couch behind a four-wheeler, being pushed into a curb while inside of a Walmart shopping cart, jumping out of a moving car into a bush just to see what would happen. Damn, I really did grow up on Jackass, didn't I? Now this kid can't do anything that might result in a fall, a collision, or any kind of impact. He's stuck inside his house in Ohio in a small town of 5,000 people with nothing to do. So, of course, it makes sense that Daniel would eventually find video games. Maybe the young kids of this generation would turn to an iPad or their cell phones, but the result would be the same, which is to find a game or something to scroll that passes the time away and keeps you feeling connected to something. Daniel found video games and started playing with his buddy Jonathan Johnson, and Jonathan Johnson introduced him to Halo 3, one of the greatest video games of all time. And I'm gonna keep saying it. Knowing most of you in my audience, I know a vast majority of you know exactly what Halo is, but I don't want anyone feeling left out, so if you're not familiar, allow me to paint you a little picture. You are Master Chief, a 7-foot-tall genetically engineered killing machine in a suit of power armor that costs more than most countries' defense budgets. You are the last line of defense between humanity and an alien religious.
I actually don't know the plot of Halo. I'm finally getting educated on the Donut Operators channel of all things.
Coalition called the Covenant, who wants to literally end all life in the galaxy. You're also fighting the Flood, and a bunch of other stuff. It's badass. It was some of the best combat in the world at the time in video games. I mowed lawns for an entire summer when I was 16 just so I could buy an Xbox from a pawn shop just to play Halo 1, 2, and 3. But it's cinematic, it's incredibly immersive, and it's genuinely one of the most well-crafted first-person shooter experiences ever made. On September 25th, 2007, Halo 3 was released, and this was a huge culture shift. Online.
So, speaking of Halo, I had this conversation today with Mr. Scotty in DMs about how Xbox is cooked. That shit came in to wreck that fucking company and get everybody the fuck out, fuck it up, and then get a job at the White House because she was meant to fail because Xbox, everyone knows this. They can get out of the console wars. They're fucking Microsoft. They're rich and they make money off the PC games anyways. But it's like, but he said, but like, Xbox means Halo. And I said, no, Xbox means Mountain Dew and Doritos now, and all these people get made fun of, and it's a stupid fucking trope, right? Like, the PlayStation is just better, and you don't need a PS5, and the Steam's killing it. We don't need Xbox no more. Put Halo on PC.
Multiplayer games that existed before Halo was around, and Halo 2 was the first true online matchmaking with Xbox Live, but Halo 3 took all those ideas and pumped them full of steroids. We're talking about a huge player base, custom games, party modes with friends, the whole nine. It was truly revolutionary, and I remember having the biggest LAN parties with all my buddies. We would be carrying these freaking 100-pound CRT TVs, all of our Xboxes, to put them in someone's garage, hook them all up and play. This is one of those up until 2 a.m. every night with your friends kind of game. I feel like I can hear the collective head nods to you people listening to this right now. My nostalgia kicked in and I went down the donut hole. I was the freaking best. Don't at me, Johnny Zilliet. In Halo 3, you are finishing the fight. That's quite literally the tagline. Finish the fight. Daniel very quickly got swept up in the wave of these people playing for hours a day. Except for Daniel, this became 18 hours every single day. Now I want to go down the donut hole here for a sec because Daniel Petrick is not the first person and absolutely will not be the last to do something deranged because of a video game, and I think it's worth establishing that this
It's okay, we know, don't it? You don't have to do video game PR.
Particular thread of crime has been around longer than you might think. It's why I'm able to give you multiple in-depth stories on this exact topic on the podcast you happen to be listening to right now. Which, by the way, we're on Spotify and a couple of other podcast listening places. Let me tell you about Cameron Kocher. Cameron's from a small town called Creeksville in Pennsylvania, which is a community situated outside the Pocono Mountains. He's an honor roll kid, he's in the Boy Scouts, and a leader in his Bible class at church. On a snow day in March of 1989, a group of kids are hanging out at one of their homes doing what most
The problem year. Taylor Swift was born.
kids did in '89 on a snow day. Played Nintendo, rode snowmobiles outside, and built snowmen. I'm sure you can picture that whole scene. One of these kids is 9-year-old Cameron Kocher, the one I just mentioned. Yes, he was 9. Another
Cameron Kocher is this is the good son. This is the bad seed kid. That's a name. Deed.
There's 7-year-old Jessica Carr. At some point, the kids are playing Spy Hunter on the Nintendo. Jessica tells Cameron that she has her own version of the game at home. Now I can get further than you, she allegedly says. I beat the dragon. Cameron apparently does not take this jab very well. The adults tell the kids to go outside and get off the video game, so they all go ride snowmobiles. But Cameron, still upset, goes home instead. He goes upstairs, he goes to the base of a lamp in their home and takes it off to reveal a key that has been hidden in there. It goes to his father's gun cabinet, which is a whole nother tangent I could go on about guns.
Yes. These are the people... The children are the ones that have problem with violence in video games. Clearly, like I said, adults fine. These little fetus heads, no. And why do they have access to gun cabinets ever?
Safety and storage. Obviously have great storage. This kid unlocks the cabinet and takes out a Marlin 35 caliber hunting rifle with a scope. He loads it and walks to the second story bedroom window. He removes the screen and looks through the scope at Jessica Carr, remember, age 7, riding as a passenger on a snowmobile in a field nearby. And he shoots her in the back. Remember, little Lee Harvey Oswald here is 9 years old. Or would it be little man on the grassy knoll? Anyways, the bullet pierced her spine and her right lung. She fell off the snowmobile into the snow and died. Cameron Kocher then casually went downstairs, cleaned the rifle, returned it to the cabinet, and went back to playing Nintendo. The other kids thought there was a sniper in the neighborhood, so they asked Cameron to come back to their house quickly, and he obliged. When the other kids were upset explaining what had happened, Cameron told them, and I quote, "Don't think about it and you won't be sad." Yo, this kid's a fucking psychopath. Oh my gosh. Do you guys know where all...
Yes. These poor parents, though, when they're psychopaths that young, because there's no question of, is this your fault? Did you enable too much? None of those questions. That's just a born problem.
The neighborhood cats went? I don't know. Has anyone asked Cameron? Well, after he told the other kids, don't think about it, you won't be sad, he went back to playing Nintendo. Still, 9 years old. So he was initially charged as an adult, which at the time would have made him the youngest person ever tried for murder in an adult court in the United States. But he eventually pled guilty to a lesser charge in juvenile court and served time in a juvenile facility and was released. I don't know, man, that was spoiled. We should probably just go ahead and wood chipper it.
I agree. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but like, what? Is he gonna redeem himself and be useful to society? You would take any of the mass murderers in Invincible over fucking the psycho bad seed kid.
I'm not telling you that story because it's exactly the same as Daniel Patrick's, because it's definitely not. Cameron Kocher was 9. The brain development of a 9-year-old and a 16-year-old are completely different things. Anyways, back to Ohio. Daniel Patrick had been playing Halo at Jonathan Johnson's house for 7 or 8 hours a day. His father, Mark, found out and told him to cut it back or find somewhere else to live. You know, super wholesome and loving thing for a pastor to say to his own kid. So Daniel moved in with his friend Johnson for a weekend and played for 18 hours a day instead. It's 18 out of 24 hours, which means you have 6 hours to do basic human maintenance of bathroom, sleeping, and eating. Or maybe shower. That is the schedule of someone who is completely detached from anything outside of the thing they are doing. His family tried to address it. His father handled it pretty typically as a pastor. More rules, more expectations of change of behavior, and very little patience. When Halo 3 came out in September 2007, Daniel wanted a copy, but his parents said no. I would have told my kid no also. The game was rated M for mature. It was not appropriate. End of the discussion. And to be fair, it's not that mature. It's like laser guns and purple blood from aliens. Anyways, that wasn't the end of discussion for the family. But
Gemini wasn't fucking... Not that anyone's ever played that except me, but Gemini is fucking 3D and you're shooting bug guts and shit. It's kind of like Halo before its time.
Daniel snuck out his bedroom window and bought a copy anyways. His parents caught him with it. His dad took the game and locked it in a safe in his bedroom closet, the same safe where he kept his 9mm Taurus handgun. Oh boy. I want to be fair to Dad here because he is going to become the most important person in the story later on and he deserves that fairness. He put the game and the gun in the same lockbox, presumably because the lockbox is where you put things you don't want your kid to have. He was very likely thinking, this is where I put things Daniel's not allowed to touch, which is a completely reasonable thought to have about your own home. He had no idea what was coming. For about a month, things were tense. Daniel knew where the game was, he knew where the safe was, and his relationship with his father had already been strained. According to what Daniel later told a forensic psychologist during a pretrial mental health evaluation, he had been thinking about killing his parents for weeks before October 20th, which is pretty fucking stupid seeing as if you get put in jail, you're not gonna be able to play any Halo, dipshit. So it wasn't a snap decision, it wasn't a moment of rage,
Maybe it was so like I can have 2 days before someone reports the body smelling. I can get it all. I can get through the campaign in 2, and then I'll go to prison with the best memories, and when I'm out, Halo 4.
Out of control, there was weeks of thinking about it, which makes it premeditated murder. You're definitely not going to be playing Halo anytime soon. Shit, he wouldn't have even been out of jail to play ODST. Yeah, old boy was planning it out, which tells you something about where his head actually was during that month of tense quiet in the Petrick household. This is hella premeditation. October 20th, 2007, Daniel somehow found the key to the safe. He took out the 9mm and he took out Halo 3, obviously. He walked into his living room where his parents were sitting together on a Sunday evening. Just two parents probably watching something on TV. Pretty relaxing night for them. You know, they were sitting the way parents all sit together on a Saturday night when the week is over and nothing bad is happening. Their teenage son comes in. He asked them to close their eyes because he said he had a surprise. Mark Petrick testified that he expected something nice, as one likely does in this situation. He said his head then went numb and blood poured down his skull. Daniel had shot his father in the head, and he shot his mother, Susan, multiple times in the head, in the arms, and in the chest. Susan Petrick, age 43, died on the living room floor of her home in Wellington, Ohio. But Mark was still alive. He was playing dead. After shooting both of his parents, Daniel walked over to his father's body, placed the gun in his still warm hand, and as was testified in court, said, "Hey Dad, here's your gun. Take it." He was staging a murder sewer slide. A little while later, his sister Heidi and her husband Andrew arrived at the house. They had plans to watch the baseball game together with the parents. A completely normal Saturday.
They liked sports ball. They deserved it.
Night thing that families do. Daniel met them at the door and told them not to come in. He said the parents were fighting, but they heard groaning from inside and they pushed through the door. Andrew, the husband, goes into the house. He goes over to the living room and he obviously sees something is wrong here. Dad's groaning on the floor. Mom's dead by this point. She got shot a bunch of times and there's blood everywhere. Andrew's able to get the gun, but in the meantime, the son, Daniel, he runs and gets in the family van and drives off. He's got Halo 3 sitting shotgun in the van, no pun intended. He at least remembered to grab the game. I don't know what he's going to do with it. Police caught him shortly after and detained him. Speaking of, real quick, there was a guy arrested last year in the UK and he wasn't worried about his ex-girlfriend who he just beat to death. He was more worried about something else. This guy's name was Robert Richens. He ended up being jailed for life with a minimum term of 16 years. He's crying. He's upset, not because he just murdered his ex-girlfriend. While he's crying, he says, "I'm going to miss Grand Theft Auto 6. All right, back to Ohio. So he's driving around. He just thought he killed both of his parents. He at least killed his mom and shot his dad in the head. He's got his precious Halo 3 with him. And while he's making his grand getaway to go play Halo 3, police pull him over and detain him. His trial was December 2008, and Daniel was 17 by then. He waived his right to a jury. It was just him and Lorain County Common Pleas Judge James Burge. The defense argument was video game addiction. Daniel's sister testified about the staph infection from his early spinal injury, the isolation, and the way the gaming had completely taken over his life. His friend Jonathan Johnson testified about the marathon sessions when he lived with him for the short stint and played 18 hours a day. Defense attorney James Kersey built a picture of a kid who had spent so much time inside a virtual world that his grip on reality had genuinely slipped.
Well, my bro, that is what they call a skill issue.
Addiction combined with his age made him less culpable and less responsible. I mean, it's not a crazy argument on its face. Your prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed until your early to mid-20s. So a 16-year-old brain is genuinely different from an adult brain in ways that matter in a courtroom. But the prosecutor, Anthony Sillo, stood up and pointed out that Daniel Petrick had told a forensic psychologist during a pretrial mental health evaluation that he had been thinking about killing his parents for weeks before he did. They had planned the staged murder-suicide. They had cleaned the scene. That he had grabbed the game on the way out the door. I guess he's never heard of gunshot residue or any of the other million things that point to that not being a murder-suicide. That's not impulsive behavior. That is not a brain that doesn't understand consequences. This is premeditation and it's deliberate and it requires planning. Judge Burge convicted him of aggravated murder, attempted aggravated murder, and tampering with evidence. Judge Burge was also the one that put forth the idea that Daniel genuinely may not have understood that killing his
Was the evidence the Halo game?
parents meant that they were gone forever. That he may have, on some level, expected her to come back the way characters come back when you restart a level. That sounds
I'm sorry, this isn't Carol and the stupid kid that she fucking picked up and had to say, "Go look at the flowers, Sam," in a Walking Dead universe. What the fuck's wrong with you?
like absolute BS to me, honestly. He knew what he was doing. He knew he was killing his parents. The judge wasn't making excuses. He still convicted him, but he just used that as a theory about what was happening inside the kid's head. That the line between the game and the real world had blurred so completely that the death itself had stopped feeling permanent. Daniel even alluded to this in a jailhouse interview in 2013. He said he never blamed the video game for what he did, but he did say that in his mind as a 16-year-old kid when he played Halo 3, at the end of the game, no matter who you killed, the game just reset. When he was asked if he understood that his parents wouldn't come back to life at the time of the murder, he said, "There's a difference between knowing something and understanding that I was taking a human life. Daniel was clear that he had maintained full responsibility for the murder and does not blame Halo, but he said it was a catalyst for his mindset that caused him to eventually commit the murder. Look, now I'm no psychologist, I'm a former cop who finds this stuff deeply interesting. The prosecution pushed for the maximum of life without parole. They argued Daniel had shown no real remorse, that he had planned the crime, and that he deserved a full weight of what the law could give him. And then his dad, Mark Petrick, stood up. Mark, Daniel's dad, the man Daniel shot 5 times and survived by playing dead on his own living room floor, the man whose wife Daniel killed, Mark stood up in the sentencing hearing and asked Judge Burrs to be lenient with his son. He told the court,
Fuck that. If it's my kid, get out of here. Go. You know, I presume whoever the baby father of this fucking future kid, I know that person. I've gone through the security checks for hooking up with them. We watch true crime. I won't make no mistakes, right? I don't know who that kid is and who that's gonna be. I haven't done a security check on something that hasn't fucking happened yet, so no. You murder one, you out of here. You're gonna murder me next.
that Daniel's most frequent thing to say to him was, "Dad, I miss Mom, I miss Mom." Well, yeah, you fucking shot her 5 times. He still does not understand why he did something so terrible, Mark said. This was a turn of emotions from the initial few days after the shooting, because when Mark woke up from surgery in the hospital, he said how much he hated his son, and rightfully so. The prosecution, however, was not moved. They still pushed for the maximum. They pointed out that Daniel had already received something pretty extraordinary, which was a father who forgave him. Judge Bird sentenced Daniel to 23 years to life. No life without parole. Not life without parole. A number with an end on it. He's eligible for parole in November of 2030. Microsoft's official response to the entire situation, start to finish, was 6 words. "We are aware of the situation, and it is a tragic case." Daniel Petrick is currently incarcerated at Grafton Correctional Institute.
Thanks, Microsoft.
In Grafton, Ohio. He's eligible for parole on November 2nd, 2030, when he will be 39 years old. Oh, what is it with these 5,000 people towns? Our next story is from Fayette, Alabama, which has, you guessed it, a population of about 5,000 people. Small enough that the police department runs 3 people on a shift, 2 officers and a dispatcher. In this town running said shift, you've got Arnold Strickland, age 55. He's got 20 years on the job. James Crump, age 40, and Leslie Mealer, 38. Leslie was the dispatcher who kept the whole show running from behind her desk. It was 3 people minding their own business doing a job at 3 a.m. on June 7, 2003. They have a kid named Devin Moore sitting in the booking area waiting to be processed for driving a stolen car. Before 6 a.m., everybody but Devin will be dead. And our dear sweet Devin will be in a police cruiser that he stole and will be heading for Mississippi. But let's back up and start at the beginning. Devin...
Surprised he pulled it off. How many people actually get a Grand Theft Auto that hard?
Darnell Moore was born May 15th, 1985 in Fayette County, Alabama. He grew up in Coven, which is a small community in Walker County. His home life was admittedly pretty complicated. His defense team would later claim in court that his father was physically abusive and forced his sons into hard manual labor from an early age, which was testimony supported by his older half-brother and corroborated by 2 others. His father, Kenneth, of course, denied it and instead told the press that Devin had a troubled history, that he'd been involved in drugs and car theft as a teenager, that he'd harassed female classmates, and that he'd carried a knife to school. The truth of what went on in that house is probably somewhere in the middle. We're not going to know it from the outside. What we do know is that by spring of 2003, Devin Moore had just graduated high school and enlisted in the United States Air Force. He was due to report for duty by the end of the summer. On paper, he was a kid with a plan. Even though he had a few run-ins as a team, his record as a juvenile was wiped clean when he turned 18, a mere 3 weeks before his crime spree that would alter the trajectory of his entire life. Somewhere in the weeks and months before that, Devin Moore had been playing a lot of Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto in 2003 was the most controversial video game franchise in America, possibly the world. The series had been around since '97, but it was the GTA 3 released in 2001 and GTA Vice City released in 2002 that turned things into a national conversation about violence, children, and media. Man, I remember when Vice City came out. I was in the 8th grade. I was super excited about that chainsaw and that samurai sword, just hacking up all sorts of police. I feel like the early 2000s was our generation's version of the satanic panic that happened in the 80s. Back then, everything evil could be traced back to that. It was all Satan and heavy metal. In the early 2000s, it was Halo and Grand Theft Auto. GTA 3 and Vice City were open world games. They call them sandbox games, meaning there was no single track you had to follow. You could drive around a fictional city, take missions from criminals, steal cars, visit hookers, evade police, get into shootouts, and do essentially whatever you wanted within the game world. Violence was almost the point. Vice City in particular was set in a neon-soaked 1980s Miami dripping with Scarface vibes, full of cocaine deals with gang warfare and the kind of unapologetic adult content that made parents groups absolutely lose their minds. I loved it, and the soundtrack was amazing. Oh man, to be a fly on the wall of Facebook mom groups back then, if that was a thing. Even still, the game sold millions of copies. Like Halo from our first story, it was rated M for mature, meaning it was technically only supposed to be sold to 17 and older.
Well, like I said, at least the problem is, like I said, I think it is worth exploring. They're exploring social media and all these things in these different countries and their different things. But the problem with the 90s and the early 2000s controversies, it was more of our fucking, my parents' fucking generation deciding they didn't want to raise the kids they gave birth to. That's too much. They had kids. Their life is hard. They have to work, don't you know? It's exhausting being an adult. My God. So like, they needed the school system to raise them right. They didn't have time.
No, this is going to shock you, but Devin Moore was not 17 when he bought it, nor was I when I bought it. He played it for hundreds of hours. That is not disputed. Both sides of the criminal case agreed on that much. What was disputed was what those hundreds of hours meant. Here's the thing about GTA that became very relevant to this particular case. In GTA Vice City, there's a specific completable game mission where your character escapes from a police station, kills the officers inside, steals a police vehicle, and then flees. Step by step, kills the cops, takes the car, get out. Which is exactly step by step what Devin Moore did in Fayette, Alabama on June 7, 2003. Exactly. You ever seen No Country for Old Men? Yeah. I feel the urge to again reiterate that I'm not here to make the claim that the game made him do it. Obviously, I grew up on Grand Theft Auto, and I've never shot people that you know of. Quite candidly, I think that argument is pretty lazy and unsubstantiated by the strong scientific claims. I personally think the majority of it has to do with his home life. But the courts in this situation also agreed it was a lazy argument. The jury deliberated for just over an hour before convicting Devin on 3 counts of capital murder, and then it got even weirder. Remember the name Jack Thompson that I told you we would come back to from our Halo Kid case? That attorney dude from Florida?
Does he even have kids? Who is he suing on the behalf of? I never understand. Might have to look more into this Jack Thompson lawsuits. I don't remember. Just that he always failed.
Well, he had built his entire career around the notion that violent video games were murder simulators and the companies that made them were complicit in real-world violence. He had been arguing this point for years. He'd gone after 2 live crew, Howard Stern, Doom, Mortal Kombat, Grand Theft Auto, and a couple more. He was the guy you put on screen when you needed someone to say that video games were destroying the youth of America. He was passionate, loud, very obnoxious, and according to a significant portion of his colleagues in the field, not particularly interested in concerning himself with facts. Oh, an attorney not concerning themselves with facts. What a wild concept that never happens. Thompson filed a civil suit on behalf of the families of 2 of Moore's victims. The defendant includes Take-Two Interactive, which is the publisher at the time of Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, so he just gets someone that's like, oh, your child's dead, or is convicted of murder and your life's hard. You know it'll make you feel better? Everybody hating you in the news for trying to take their video games away.
Rockstar Games, the creator of Grand Theft Auto, Sony, Walmart, and GameStop. I mean, what a lineup. Might as well go after the poor little cashier that handed him the game, or the bus driver that drove him to Walmart, and the 95-year-old greeter that told him to have a good day on his way out. The argument was that Moore had been, in Thompson's own words, trained to do what he did by the game. Bullshit. The selling a violent video game to an underage kid was equal to handing him a murder simulator and saying, "Go nuts, kid." The lawsuit saw $600 million, which is just pretty bonkers. The case ground through the court for years. Thompson, the attorney, was eventually removed from it by the judge, who found his conduct in the proceedings to be unprofessional. Even more exciting was that 3 years after the civil suit was filed, Thompson was permanently disbarred by the Florida Supreme Court for what the court described as a pattern of behavior designed to strike out harshly, extensively, repeatedly, and willfully to simply try to bring as much difficulty, distraction, and anguish to those he considers in opposition to his causes. He was ordered to pay a fine of $43,000. Oh, I also thought it was of note to bring up the fact that the Florida Supreme Court also said that he was not amenable to rehabilitation, which is fancy talk for the man would never change or become a better version of himself. The civil case against Take-Two, Rockstar, Sony, Walmart, and GameStop was ultimately dismissed, and the courts found that the companies could not be held liable for Moore's actions. Yeah, the kid knew he was killing people. Legally speaking, the connection between the game and the killing was not sufficient to make Rockstar responsible for what Devin Moore chose to do to those 3 innocent people for just trying to do their jobs. People are still arguing about this case 20-some odd years later about whether video games make kids violent. Grand Theft Auto gets blamed for approximately everything that has ever gone wrong with American youth, and I'll be the first to tell you that's mostly nonsense. Once again, in 2008, Grand Theft Auto was blamed for some shenanigans. Not cheeky and fun shenanigans, tragic and cruel shenanigans. June 26, 2008, New Hyde Park, Long Island, New York. Late at night, a group of teenagers have apparently decided the most productive use of their evening is to cosplay Grand Theft Auto 4 in real life. And I don't mean they put on a hoodie and jaywalked. I mean they went on a full, actual crime spree armed with a baseball bat, a crowbar, and a broomstick. There's not a gun inside because, well, they didn't have one, but I'm sure they would have used it. It started off with 3 of them mugging a man outside a Stop and Shop grocery store. They beat him bad enough to knock his teeth out. Then they just walked down the middle of a street in the neighboring town of...
If it hadn't been Grand Theft Auto, they would have saw bum fights and did this.
Garden City, blocking traffic, which is a pretty bold choice. At some point, they run into some other kids they know from school. They didn't want to rob them because they knew them, so instead they recruited 2 of them into the crew. Now it's 6 deep. They surrounded a woman's car, robbed her at bat and crowbar point, and stole her cigarettes. These really are kids. Hey man, give me them cigarettes. Well, then they smashed a passing van with a bat for good measure. Nassau City Police got called, rolled up while the crew was mid-robbery on number 3 and arrested the whole group. When detectives sat them down, the teens told police they were emulating Nico Bellic, who is the main character of Grand Theft Auto 4, which had come out just 2 months prior. I don't know, man, Nico had a rocket launcher. Y'all are just stupid. Nassau County Detective Sergeant Anthony Rapalone told reporters, it was determined that they were emulating the character in that Grand Theft Auto game, going on a crime spree, he said. 6 teenagers were charged for the Grand Theft Auto crime spree. Three of the main suspects, a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, and 16-year-old, were hit with felony robbery charges and bail set at $100,000. Two of the younger ones, 14 and 15 years old, got a bigger bond at $150,000. Another random kid that was with him got hit with misdemeanor stolen property charges. Rockstar Games, the company that I mentioned before makes Grand Theft Auto, released a statement that basically said, look, people who commit crimes should be held accountable for those crimes, not a place of entertainment software. And honestly, I mean, they're right. GTA didn't make them rob somebody, just like all the other stories we've been talking about and we're going to talk about. Oh, what about 10 years later, we got another Grand Theft Auto one, but this time Grand Theft Auto 5. Speaking of, it's pretty criminal that Grand Theft Auto 6 isn't out yet. As of recording this, Grand Theft Auto was
referencing jokes.
Supposed to come out 2 days ago.
We should blame Hotline Miami for Mama Max.
They announced last year that on May 26, 2026, it was going to come out. Guess what? It's not out. We should hold Rockstar accountable. So this one in 2018 isn't really inspired by GTA. This is fully committed to the premise at a biochemical level. June 2nd, 2018, deputies from the Jackson County Sheriff's Office are on a routine DUI stop. They pulled over a driver and are waiting on the side of the road for a tow truck to come haul the impounded car away. It's uneventful and, basically a standard Thursday night in Southern Oregon. Then Anthony Joseph Clark shows up. He's 23 years old from Grants Pass. He steps out the passenger side of a nearby pickup truck, walks over to one of the deputies on this DUI stop, and he tells the deputy to his face, out loud and directly, that he's going to steal that car. And then he just does. No one stops him. The deputy grabs Clark's shirt through the window, trying to stop him, but Clark floors the car anyway, nearly dragging the deputy along with him and sped off into the night. What followed was a 40-mile police chase across multiple jurisdictions that hit pretty much every GTA mechanic you can think of. He drove through Ashland, Talent, and Phoenix at high speed. He went the wrong direction down several roads and got on Interstate 5, driving north on the shoulder of southbound lanes. He turned around, then drove back towards the exit, crashed through multiple chain link fences and industrial gates. He even ran over a couple of police deployed
I don't think I don't think your car has a secret health bar anywhere. Except that Kia we watched the other day.
Spike strips, popping all of his tires. But he kept going. Police deployed more spike strips. He just ran over those too. Eventually, he did get pitted by a patrol vehicle, ending the chase. But wait, there's more. He jumps out and then runs into a trailer park. He was in the process of trying to steal a second car from the trailer park when officers called him. So why do I bring up Grand Theft Auto? I mean, this is basically Grand Theft Auto, but when they got him into custody and sat him down, Clark admitted he had been taking LSD earlier in the day and that he was hallucinating throughout the entire chase.
God, I know someone who looks exactly like... Actually, that's Frankie Muniz. They finally got him.
And believed that he was inside a real-life version of Grand Theft Auto. The sheriff's office noted in the report that the hallucinations appear to be still ongoing during the interview itself. I am going to need to submit a FOIA request and get this footage of his interrogation while he's tripping balls on LSD. Because he led a 40-mile chase, he was charged by 3 separate law enforcement agencies: the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, the Ashland Police Department, and the Oregon State Police. Yep, the state's got him too. They hemmed him up for a list of offenses that is almost impressive in its length. Driving under the influence, attempting to elude an officer in a vehicle, attempting to elude an officer on foot, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, reckless driving, recklessly endangering another person, first-degree criminal mischief, third-degree escape, second-degree criminal trespass, unlawful entry in a motor vehicle, and interfering with a police officer. Somehow, nobody got hurt. I want to be clear about something. This is not a story about video games causing crime. Rockstar Games and Grand Theft Auto did not put LSD in this man's mouth. They also didn't tell him to steal a car, go on a long police chase, crash through chain link fences, and then try to steal another car from a trailer park. He did that. And the drugs. Oh, we're not quite done with Grand Theft Auto because that causes everyone to go out and shoot other people or rob them, obviously. June 25th, 2003. There's a small town in Cock County sitting right at the edge of the Great Smoky Mountains. It's a beautiful Wednesday evening around 7:30 p.m. The sun's out and 45-year-old Aaron Hamill is driving west on Interstate 40 heading home from Knoxville. He's a registered nurse who had just moved to the area from Canada. His cousin Denise is riding with him. According to people who knew him, he had literally just gotten a call back about a job at a juvenile detention facility, one where he hoped he could, and I'm quoting here, make a difference and help these kids. It's a great day and he's got good news. He's heading home. 19-year-old Kimberly Bede from Monetta, Virginia is in a separate car heading the same direction on 40. She's sitting in the passenger seat, listening to some music, just vibing, when out of nowhere, she hears what she thinks is a tire blowing out. The second sound, which also sounds like a tire blowing out, proves her wrong. It's a bullet punching through the passenger side of the car. This time, it shatters her hip. Aaron Hamill, the registered nurse we were talking about, wasn't so lucky. He got shot in the head and lost control of his pickup. He crossed into the median, struck a guardrail, and slid about 50 feet. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. So now we got one person dead and one person with a bullet that fragmented her spine, and nobody knows where the shots came from. Investigators are on the highway with spotlights and heat-seeking equipment, worried this might be some kind of sniper situation. Something like a replay of the Beltway sniper attacks that had just terrorized DC area the previous fall.
Fun fact, I never went on one of those cool field trips, maybe to Chicago, because we were supposed to go to Washington, D.C., middle school trip, our whole class, and then 9/11 happened. That was canceled. Then a couple years later, it's like terrorism's down, everybody. But then the DC sniper happened, or it might have been a few months later. But like every fucking time this vacation, this field trip was supposed to happen, a fucking terrorist attack. It was never meant to be.
You guys remember that?
Oh, but then when my friend's class got to go to London, but then the riots fucking broke out.
Oh, and that was crazy. During that DC sniper situation, it was 22 days of terror, I remember. These two guys were driving around just sniping random people, like pumping gas or just driving to work. Ended up killing 10 people. We'll talk about that one day. So these investigators who are on I-40 are like, oh my gosh, I hope this isn't another one of those. They said, we don't know if it was road rage, a sniper, or what. Well, they figured out what it was within 48 hours. You see, lurking in the bushes near the Smoky Mountain Golf Course, right off the interstate, were two kids. One was a lanky 15-year-old named William Buckner and his 13-year-old stepbrother Joshua from Newport. What had happened was, about a week before the shooting, Joshua had taken two 22 caliber rifles from their home and hidden them in the woods along the interstate. The night of the 25th, the two of them went out there after dark, just bored, according to investigators, and started shooting at passing cars. They told police they were aiming at the beds of tractor trailers as they went by, not at people. But on a highway going 70 miles an hour at night, you're not in control where those rounds are going. The investigators asked them why the hell they would do this, and the kids said that they were doing what they'd seen in Grand Theft Auto 3, shooting at cars in traffic, just like in the game. Because both boys were under 16, they couldn't be charged as adults unless the state went for first or second degree murder. And given that the kids told investigators about not intending to hit anyone, the DA went with reckless homicide. They both pled guilty in juvenile court to reckless homicide, reckless endangerment, and aggravated assault. Judge Ben...
Fuck that. When someone's out here doing Mr. Highways, you send them to prison for life. I'm sick of these psycho kids getting leniency. BS, man.
Strand sentenced him to the custody of the Department of Children's Services for an intermediate period. He said they could stay until they aged out of juvenile system at 19. William, who prosecutors believe fired these shots that hit the victims, wrote in his letter of apology to the court, "I will always hate myself for what I did." Joshua wrote, "I did not mean to hurt anyone." I, personally, am not going to blame this on video games. I'm going to blame it on their shitty parents. At the sentencing, Aaron Hamill's mother, Rosemary, said she was choosing...
Whoa, I'm sure they worked so hard and considered all this when they popped out these two.
Forgiveness. That's what God does, and I want to do that. His cousin Denise, who was in the car when he was killed, said, "I can't forgive the kids. They left a hole in my heart." Kimberly Bed, who had 8 bullet fragments in her body and was still receiving medical treatment at the time, said the shooting left her terrified to go outside. "It's kind of put a stop on everything," she said. The families of the victims filed a $246 million lawsuit against Sony, Take-Two Interactive, Rockstar Games, and Walmart. And again, just like all the other stories we're talking about, the courts weren't able to hold a game publisher liable for what two kids decide to do with rifles on an interstate. And we have another story about Grand Theft Auto. This one is about an Auburn lacrosse player who tried to live out Grand Theft Auto 5. 2013. Nobody died on this one. Nobody got seriously hurt. But what we do have is one of the most aggressively stupid things a college kid has ever voluntarily done and then immediately confessed to. September of 2013, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's the weekend of the Auburn LSU football game. That's a big deal in the Southeastern Conference. 20-year-old Auburn freshman Zachary Burgess from Hoover, Alabama is in town for the game. He's a freshman defense on Auburn's club lacrosse team. He's pretty good at it too. He played 13 games the previous year with 42 ground balls. Grand Theft Auto 5 had come out exactly 1 week earlier on September 17th. At 2:30 in the morning, Burgess is leaving a bar called Tigerland. He's walking through the parking lot and he sees a truck sitting there, keys in the ignition, running. So a normal person would just...
It's a sandbox game. You can roleplay and do whatever the fuck you want in it.
Keep walking, go home, sleep it off.
I'm watching still because I need to figure out what the fuck happened in Shanghai.
Or play Grand Theft Auto 5. What does Zachary Burgess do in his drunken stupor? Well, he gets in the running truck. Now here's the kicker that separates this from your garden variety drunk car theft. There's a woman sitting in the passenger seat. The owner of the truck had just stepped out to do something real quick, but his passenger was still there. Well, Burgess hops in anyway and guns it. The woman, understandably, tries to get out, but she can't because of what the arrest report officially describes as Burgess's erratic and dangerous driving. He's actively holding her in the vehicle through the physics of just driving completely insane. Pretty sure that's another felony right there. The parking lot is full of other cars. He just plows through them. 1, 2, 3, doesn't stop. He hits 4, 5. The woman eventually manages to escape from the truck. He hits 6, 7, 8 more cars. He's still going. 9 parked cars total. After that, he flees the scene of the accident, and per the arrest report, with no signs of him intending to return the truck to the rightful owner. Dude, that truck has got to be ground beef at this point. That's a very formal way of saying he just kept ramming things and bouncing off of them like a frickin' pinball. Bystanders outside the bar watched this whole thing unfold, did what any reasonable group of people who just watched a dude kidnap a woman and destroy a parking lot would do. Well, they grabbed him, beat the piss out of him, and held him down until police got there at 2:24 a.m. They take him in, they sit him down, and Burgess, in what I can only describe as a moment of radical honesty, told the detectives that he wanted to see what it was really like to play the video game Grand Theft Auto. My God, will any of these people take self-accountability? You know what, that's it. These days, it'll probably just get me probation if I rob a bank and say Grand Theft Auto made me do it. I'm quitting YouTube, I'm robbing banks because Grand Theft Auto made me do it. I'm going to talk about sexually explicit acts and man on the street interviews and then do a pump and dump crypto scheme. Because Grand Theft Auto made me do it. Anyways, that's the explanation.
Yeah, it's big pimpin'.
He just said Grand Theft Auto made him do it. That's the whole thing. There wasn't any, I was drunk, I panicked, I just wanted to go home and play Grand Theft Auto. He just said he wanted to see what it was like in real life. This kid just starting his life out, who was a pretty good lacrosse player, ended up posting an $80,000 bond and released the next day. He was charged with theft of a motor vehicle, simple kidnapping, and 9 counts of hit and run. Somehow he was kicked off of the lacrosse team. I couldn't find a legal outcome on this one, which happens a lot with cases that don't go to trial and just kind of resolve themselves. I don't know what happened to this one. What I can tell you is that it definitely wasn't GTA's fault. Let's get out of the Grand Theft Auto territory for a minute and talk about some fork knife. This story is less video games cause crime and more video game addiction plus extremely bad judgment plus an always on camera is a recipe for public catastrophe. December 9th, 2018, Oran Park, New South Wales, Australia. There's a 26-year-old named Luke Monday. His gamer handler was Mr. Deadmoth. You might have seen this one on YouTube a while back. He's in mid-session playing Fortnite and streaming it live on Twitch. He's not a huge streamer, pretty small time with a few hundred.
That's clavicular. I'm not confused.
Viewers at most on a normal night. His 21-year-old girlfriend, who's 4 months pregnant with their 3rd child.
Oh fuck, this is the guy that like uploaded a fake live stream when the murder took place. So it'd be like, I was streaming when that bitch got killed.
With 2 toddlers in the house, ages 3 and 20 months, want him to stop playing and come eat dinner with the family. That's a reasonable request.
Okay, it's a different one, never mind.
She asks him and he says he'll be out soon. She asks again and again, he says he'll be out soon. At some point, she starts throwing things at him to get his attention, including a kettle. Well, he gets up, goes off camera, but the stream's still running, and he slaps her in the face and pushes her to the ground.
Be out soon. Stop, please.
Oh, you can hear the whole thing too. You can hear the argument, the slap, you can hear her start crying. And she says out loud to his Twitch audience, you hear that? All you people out here, he just hit me in the face. The kids are screaming in the background, and of course the clip goes viral. Viewers immediately start calling Australia police, and officers are arrested Monday the same night. Twitch, of course, bans him. But they won't ban people for supporting terrorism against the United States.
Oh, because fucking Twitch wants to see the West fall. Then see how long they can get away with not doing anything pro-Amazon.
States. Look at that. 2 weeks later, Twitch reinstated his account, which somehow made the story even bigger, and then banned him again permanently after the public backlash. Prosecutors ended up giving him a comment assault charge with a conviction that can carry up to 2 years in prison. In 2019, he did plead guilty. The court heard and agreed the statement of facts. He slapped his pregnant girlfriend in the face and pushed her to the floor. His attorney, in an absolutely incredible moment of PR malpractice, described the incident publicly as, just a slap. That quote went nearly as viral as the original clip. In November of 2019, though, he was sentenced to a 14-month good behavior bond, no jail time. His partner ended up being charged too for assaulting him by throwing the kettle at him. They both caught charges out of this, and in the end, the whole thing played out like a very grim episode of reality television that nobody asked to watch, but millions did anyways in those viral clips. The lesson to take away from this story is Fortnite is a terrible video game, and if you play it, you're wrong. Say no to fork knife. Moving on. In January of this year, a 19-year-old named William Spencer got into an argument with his 25-year-old brother over a Fortnite game. The argument escalated and Spencer stabbed his brother to death. He called 911 on himself afterward and reportedly said he didn't mean to. I accidentally stabbed him several times.
Just like that guy who was trying to kill King David, I can't wait till Sunday school. I'm excited. We gotta figure out how the David-Goliath thing ends. Well, we already know how that one ended, but what happens after? Nice curbs.
He is currently charged with first-degree murder in Oklahoma City and held on a $10 million bond. The case is still working its way through the courts. And then there's Devin Vanderhoof. In February of this year, Vanderhoof was convicted of 2 counts of willful, deliberate, and premeditated attempted murder in California. The story goes that he met a woman through a video game, Fortnite again, good old fork knife. And they developed what he apparently believed was a significant relationship over years of online interaction. When the relationship didn't go the way he wanted in real life, he flew from British Columbia, Canada to Monterey County, California. He bought handcuffs, knives, and duct tape. He posed as an Amazon delivery driver to get her to the front door. He then attacked her boyfriend and strangled her until she couldn't breathe.
That seems like something someone would learn from Burn Notice.
Her boyfriend stabbed Vanderhoof repeatedly with scissors until a neighbor intervened. Luckily, the woman survived, and Vanderhoof is facing life in prison in court. It's not really the same case as Devin Moore, but they are part of the same broader unresolved question about what happens when the line between the virtual and the real gets thin enough that people start acting like the rules are interchangeable. And now I need to tell you about a sword. Not a real sword, because there was no real sword. That's kind of the whole point. This sword existed inside a video game on a server somewhere in China as a collection of code and data that made a character in a game more powerful.
Is this like the South Park episode of WoW? Wait, I mean the WoW episode of South Park.
Than other characters. But a grown-ass 41-year-old man from Shanghai named Chu Chungwei killed someone over a virtual sword. To understand why this happened, you need to understand what was going on in China in 2004 with online gaming, because it genuinely is one of the most interesting things that happened in the early days of the internet, and basically nobody in the Western world paid attention to it. In the early 2000s, China had a massive online gaming industry that operated almost entirely through internet cafes. Not everyone had a computer at home, but internet cafes were everywhere and they were cheap, accessible, and open at all hours. The game that had taken over China in the time period, the game that had something like 11 million active players at its peak, was called The Legend of Mir. The game was originally a Korean-made multiplayer online role-playing game that had been adapted for the Chinese market and had essentially become a national phenomenon. Fun fact, the sequel, Legend of Mir 3, had been certified by the Guinness Book of Records for having 750,000 people in the game at the same time.
I'm still in disbelief that Korea is richer than Israel. Well, everyone's richer than Canada. But yeah, Korea's got it going on. South Korea, of course, not the other one.
I played a bunch of MMORPGs, specifically World of Warcraft, and if we're talking about China, I used to give them a lot of money for gold. Maybe you haven't played MMORPGs, meaning massive multiplayer online role-playing game. Basically, you create a character like many video games, you go out
The thing from .hack sign.
in the world, you fight monsters, complete quests, gain experience, and level up. Character gets stronger, you get better equipment, better weapons, and sometimes people grind for years to get specific weapons. And in games like Legend of Mir, those weapons matter enormously. In a lot of these MMOs, you're playing against other players and the virtual monsters in the game. A powerful weapon means your character can beat both of those categories. Like I just mentioned, I used to pay Chinese gold farmers back in 2005. You could spend real money on virtual items, rare weapons, powerful armor, all of it trading on a secondary market that operated outside the game itself.
Why are you knocking on RuneScape? That's everyone's childhood.
But use real currency. Hey, if Blizzard wants to slap my PP for buying gold now, that's fine. All I'm saying is I'm not very happy with them after they blocked me on Twitter. Also, they gave the most powerful wizard in the world a pink flying wheelchair to make him more inclusive. The most powerful wizard
It really does. I don't know what's happening at that Blizzard. I don't think they know who they want to be anymore.
in the world can raise the dead, but he can't fix his own legs. Anyways, the company that did this Chinese game didn't sanction it, but they couldn't stop the black market. Players would meet in forums, negotiate prices, transfer items inside the game, exchange cash outside, and by 2007, analysts estimate the virtual item trading market in China was worth approximately 4 billion yuan.
Was there this like China's Bitcoin before that was a thing?
A year. Adjusted to USD for inflation, that's almost $1 million. For virtual items in an MMORPG game. When this Chinese guy won a red dragon saber in Legend of Mir 3, the guy knew exactly what he had. The catch here about the game is that it required teamwork in order to get more rare items. So he and a friend had jointly won the weapon. The red dragon saber was among the most powerful weapons in the game. On the secondary market, it was worth approximately 7,200 yuan. To put that in context, the average monthly income in Shanghai at the time happened to be 1,400 yuan. In 2005, that sword was worth a little bit over 800 bucks. This virtual sword, which I can't stress this enough, literally did not exist, was worth 5 months of wages for an average Shanghai worker. So this guy that won it lent the sword to a 26-year-old man named Zhu Tao Yuan, there we go. And by lent, I mean he let him borrow it to use in the game for a while so he could level up and kill some powerful monsters. Now this wasn't unusual play.
Joke's on you for not getting it back. You can't trust, even if it's your friend in real life, you can't trust them to be over that game in the next month when something else comes out.
Players lent items to each other often. It was part of how the community worked. But instead, Zhu sold it. He sold the sword that did not belong to him, on the open market, and kept the money.
Where was Chinese reckless Ben to expose this?
All $800 US of it. When the original owner found out,
sorry, Korean.
He did exactly what a reasonable person whose property has been stolen would do. He went to the police. But as I have said repeatedly, the sword really didn't exist in the real world. So the police told him there was unfortunately nothing they could do. From a legal standpoint, this case gets kind of fascinating. The police weren't wrong. In China in 2004, there was no law covering the ownership of virtual property. The legal framework just didn't exist. A virtual sword was not recognized as property under Chinese law, which meant that what Zhu did not technically constitute theft in the eyes of the law. The police looked at
Oh, you can't own a sword, so someone's allowed to steal a sword?
the original owner's complaint told him that the dragon saber wasn't real property, wasn't protected by law, and that they couldn't help him. This thing was so real to this man. It was a part of something he worked incredibly long and hard for, and he was being told that it was not real at all. So he just went home. He dwelled on it for days, and then he went to the guy's house who sold it with a very real knife. He stabbed that dude who sold his sword in the chest multiple times. Well, this knife was real, and he died.
So they're able to know where each other lives. They're that close. They figured this the fuck out. Don't steal the sword of a person who can get a knife. We'll sell it. You didn't even care.
His father later told the press, "My son was only 26 years old when he died. He was sleeping."
Well, your fucking son's an asshole, though, actually. He was lent that important sword for friendship, and what did he do with it?
When this guy broke into our home, he was barely able to put on his pants before he stabbed him. Well, then the original sword owner turned him into the police. The police who had told him there was nothing they could do about a stolen virtual sword. They were handling murder a little bit more serious than the sword. You may be pleased to know that China has since updated its laws on virtual items and things like that. The Civil Code of the People's Republic of China, which came into effect in 2021, explicitly lists online virtual property as an object protected by law. 17 years after the sword owner walked into a police station and was told there was nothing they could do, the law caught up.
Does he get released then?
But it was too late for the guy who stole the sword. He's dead. The outcome of the trial was about as blunt as you'd expect from a Chinese criminal court dealing with a premeditated stabbing death. He was convicted of murder and was sentenced to death with a 2-year reprieve. Since I'm
Wow! They fry them over there. You want to commit murder? Get out of the pool.
assuming most of you aren't as brushed up on your Chinese law as I am, like phrase death with a 2-year reprieve is kind of like a suspended sentence. You're sentenced to death, but the execution is suspended for 2 years. If during those 2 years you commit no further crimes and behave well in custody, your sentence is automatically commuted to life imprisonment.
Huh. That makes sense. Well, unless, like, you gotta put the serial killers to death, right? But, like, then they gotta lose their swanky death row privileges.
It is essentially a legal mechanism that says you deserve to die for this, but we're going to give you 2 years to demonstrate otherwise, and if you do, we'll let you live. It is the second most severe criminal penalty in the Chinese system. One source noted that his sentence could be potentially reduced further to 15 years with good behavior, which is how the Chinese...
What the fuck, China? Commit or don't?
system of progressive commutation works. The dad of the kid that was stabbed to death over a video game was furious at the sentence. He said, "We want this murderer to die immediately." I searched...
We're not allowed to say those things over here. I don't think China's as fucking anti-speech as they say it is. I get confused if this is Korea or China. It sounds like China. It's Shanghai, right?
Find an update
yeah,
on the prison sentence to see if he's still serving time or he's dead, but was unable to find anything. Daniel Petrick from our first story, still sitting in a cell in Ohio, waiting for a parole hearing in 2030. Devin Moore, who killed the 2 officers and the dispatchers, on death row in Alabama with no execution date set. Chinese sword boy is somewhere in China, maybe even out by now. Nobody in the English-speaking world seems to know or care enough to find out.
That's sad. I find it interesting. Well, you know, while we're looking at crimes...
These last few days have not been easy.
Dude, we doing a Life is Strange fucking... What is going on? How is he being stupid on his fucking stream today? I can never tell what's Stoic Chronicles editing and what's his own post-novels.
For me. Because I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna take on another person to care for in my life.
All the time you're gonna be overwhelmed.
Oh, okay, he's trying to block out the 90-day fiancé. This video is titled Lolcal Ian Jomha is in his divorced mom arc, which means he's watching reality shows. That's what my mom did.
I'm gonna stop you.
That kind of feels like white culture a little bit, or a white phrase is saying, I'm gonna...
After the comments you made about fucking Canada, you're not allowed to speak for white culture, sir. Shut the fuck up. God.
Gonna stop you? Because I've caught myself saying that.
That's culture, but I'm gonna stop you. Ian lost his vagina?
I don't know where I got that from. Yeah, I think that was passed down. I'm gonna stop you. It's like, it's pretty aggressive. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. As a deep white, yes. Oh my god, I cannot say that.
This is the area that I wanted you to see. See how like it's really close to us and you can see everything?
Yeah, it's very nice and very gorgeous.
That's the Empire State Building. See the one that had like the needle sticking up?
That's what?
The Empire State Building. Did you ever hear that?
Mm-mm.
You never heard of the Empire State Building?
No. What is that?
You gotta learn a little bit more about New York.
She's giving me the ick.
That's kind of bullshit. Not to comment on 90 Day Fiancé, but New Yorkers don't go to the fucking Statue of Liberty. That's one of their hugest stereotypes.
Man, I hate it. So America-brained. Like, yeah, there's people who don't know about the Empire.
Oh, Empire State Building. Statue of Liberty. I wouldn't fucking think about that bitch bullshit. Bring me your poor and you're weak, and I'd be like, fuck off. I'm middle class at best.
Empire State Building. Who gives a fuck? You're acting like it's fucking equivalent to water or air.
For the first time, I'm gonna be in New York City, and I'm gonna see like the amazing things that everybody say here. Like everybody want to be in New York. Like, you know, like I'm very excited to see the city and everything.
Intergalacdosa says she may be right to an extent. No, shut up. She's not right to an extent. What the hell does that mean? She's wrong.
Well, all right.
Don't piss me off.
Don't have opinions that aren't his, chatter. What the fuck's wrong with you?
Today.
My apartment's right there.
Like, can this woman name a single building in the Dominican Republic? A single building? I don't think so. I don't think so. As soon as she knows the name of a single building in the DR, then she can be like, what the hell? You don't know Empire State Building? She doesn't even know the name of a city there.
Was King Kong the fuck ever in the Dominican Republic? I don't think so.
Well, she's probably been to one city there where she met him.
Like
I have a shoe problem, I know.
a big one.
And then we have the luxurious kitchen, and that's it.
She probably doesn't even know the Burj Khalifa. Even I know the Burj Khalifa and Taipei 45 or whatever it's called. I know there's some big buildings, but that's kind of like all that it counts for.
Wow, my panties just got soaked. Ian has shared Arabic culture with us. I know about that building because when you get on the stair climber at Planet Fitness, that's the first when you're picking fucking tutorials and shit. Oh boy, that's like, oh man, I want to go up all the stairs. You pick that. It's called that. I figured it out.
It's not even like the work that they're doing in those buildings is like life-changing. It's just fucking office buildings, right? What are they doing in the, maybe I'm wrong. I shouldn't say that. Are they saving lives in the Empire State Building or what? Or is it just in...
It's office buildings, bro. There could be medical offices up there. Remember when Godzilla in 1999 humped it?
Insurance offices. Empire State Business? Exactly. Like, she can afford a home and a place in the city. Yeah, she's rich. It's just...
You know who used to and doesn't no more?
Insurance offices? Okay. That's fucking awesome. All right. We're playing bingo again. The bingo link is in the chat, and it's going to be pinned. So everyone gets a unique bingo card. I will go over these stats in just a moment. We'll reference it if needed. I will tell you who I like, who I dislike, who's circumcised, who isn't. Okay,
Once again, even your bingo card seems too fucking... seems too high concept for you, buddy.
Katie Kiss on mine. I prefer to have Katie Gross, because it's unlikely we're going to get another Katie Kiss. Okay, I feel pretty good about my bingo. Okay, we might see Mito today. Mito's basically dead to us. He's just been horrible the whole time. He lies about flights. He doesn't do chores. He awkwardly smiles and sort of expects her to do everything. Verbally abusive to all women, no exceptions. He cries in the rain.
What the fuck? We're making Excel sheets for 90 Day Fiancé. This guy who just put out his Canada video on his channel and was proud of it. At least he can do colored tabs pretty well.
He's a 40-year-old virgin, which is a lie, in my opinion. And you would think that in my opinion would be IMO, but that's not it.
You've only been with one woman, the fuck you know. You can sense virgins, can you?
Debbie has more to improve on. We need her to... The C will go to a B if she's able to put her foot down and basically, you know, get him out. Paula, she's killing it. She upgraded from an A to an S last episode. She's just been doing awesome things. She said, can you just be a magical being for one time in your life? That's what she said to Thomas. She has gay neighbors that have her back, and they're Brazilian, and they have a lot of swag. Thomas has 4 monitors, but one is broken, but he wants to complain about her not using all of the space. Mallory and Rashid are still, they're being the most consistent with one another. They both have, like, equal amount of issues. I will say, like, he's a little bit more, what's the word? A little bit backwards and not very progressive, a little bit more traditional in a lot of his, like, gender role ideas. What are these grades? These grades are how they're doing in their relationship. Like, how good of a partner they are. And Mallory and her friend groups are a little, like, they're a little too...
Okay, the only time I've heard men talk about reality shows, gotta be honest, is, is like there were these podcasts for 90 Day Fiancé and all the Bravo shit from these gay guys. They love those shows. Ian says he's straight. This is like, what is this? Why won't he watch good things? There's gotta be something that isn't too woke nor too anti-woke. There's gotta be some generic slop somewhere in the middle for Ian to, like, I don't know. He could watch The Walking Dead. That would be a step up for him.
Kind of conservative coded. They're a little too, yeah, Americans. We're the best. And it's obnoxious. They could honestly probably both be C, but I think for each other, they're doing like a fine enough job. It's like, I might not want to put up with what Mallory has going on or with what Rashid is going on, but they're not my partner. So it's kind of like how their partner reacts to them is probably more indicative of how good they're doing. I'd say outdated, but not backwards, but that might just be me. Outdated as far as like Mallory and her like, or do you mean Rashid? Because I would say they're both a little outdated. Although Rashid's ideas would be more outdated technically. I mean, he's from Turkey. Yeah, they're cultural and they can be worked through. I totally agree. And I think he's not committed to them, right?
Well, I knew this was a coming, this transition, because him and Noah Samson really like, have you watched this one about people going to psychology? Whoa, that sounds fascinating. Like, the pussification of men, it's a true agenda. I don't fucking, and Anissa Jomha and creatures like her are leading the charge.
Like, you see all these things, like, he's in a house full of 4 dogs, right? Coming from a Muslim culture, like, it's already probably very different, and all these American things that he's getting bombarded with, he seems to be totally open to most of it. It's just the one thing that he's trying to hold for control is the man does this, the woman does that. Okay, so Katie is a train wreck. She's not Mito level train wreck, but she's still like cheating. She's scary. She was very scary last episode. She was going around making out with random people in the bar. The only thing that was keeping her lips from pressing up against the lips of every man in the bar was the men in the bar basically saying like, nope.
I see why this was put here. Subtle.
Kiss the palm of my hand. Don't kiss me on the lips. Your husband's over there. Your fiance's over there. Yeah, so
I'll tell you a secret about therapists, Mike, that might explain that. Think about everyone you've ever heard say, I'm gonna go take psychology to figure out what's wrong with me. Yeah, those people got jobs.
Accurately defined it as sexual assault. If any of them wanted to, like, you know, press charges, they could. Cheeto dust on her fingers. This guy doesn't have any self-respect. He's not leaving. He's not communicating to Katie how serious it is. Edward is doing a pretty good job, but he's got a lot to learn, and he's with a very, like, waspy lady with a waspy family, and it's hard. Oh, update.
Paparazzi photo.
Just
spotted.
Oh. Saw Josh in Portland today. Yeah.
Josh spotted in Portland.
So.
Okay, that's not Gorgeous Gabe. But someone, Anissa, needs to be like, I know a muscle cake.
Oh, that's scary. I don't want to know any more about it.
With a big backpack on.
Yeah.
Maybe he made a break for it. He's
that
got a
could
big
be.
hiking backpack.
He could just be staying in America.
Why do you, like, I'm sorry, brain dead people that are actually iDubbbz fans and in that fucking chat and, like, don't know that the end times are here. Is he taking his stream seriously or not? Just letting her like come in and interrupt with something that has nothing to do with what he's talking about. He's got a whole Excel sheet. But guys, this hot guy's at the gym.
And I don't know, who knows? Josh, the guy right here, the British man, spotted in Portland recently. That gives me too much information. I don't want to know. I like how Josh keeps blaming his passivity on being English. My partner's from Bristol and would absolutely lose his shit if I acted that way. Oh yeah, 100%. It's totally not a British thing. I think it's a bit of a safety blanket, you know, for like a comparing and contrasting. So because he's so passive. But
you're just saying words.
That's not like, how cultural is that? It's not. I don't view English people as passive. Yeah, what do we even... Yeah, that's horrible. It's like...
You're the one who got all fucking offended that a guy from Canada has the record for kill at the longest sniper range. Canadians aren't allowed to be in the army because that's rude and they're supposed to be polite.
It's like... What it is it's like a posh vibe and manners, right? Like, that's what the shit is. Manners. They care way too much about manners a lot of the time, even over like expressing their feelings or in.
There's a reason for that, and that's why all the British shows are fascinating and why they're so good with the clapbacks. Because think about it. They lived in an era where they can't say F the fucking king. They'll get killed for that. So, and they, like, you don't want to really upset and hurt anyone's feelings too hard, because what if that person in court is cool with the king's daughter? And then, like I said, it's just too risky. So when in a world where you don't have freedom of speech, you find other ways to express yourself.
Interrupting, like being polite. And it's like, nah, that doesn't represent English people. Yeah, Marissa's just being kind of annoying. She's not the worst. She's just like, I don't know what she's expecting out of Edward. That's the main problem. Is it's like, what do you expect this guy from the Dominican Republic, who's never even traveled outside of his country, and clearly lives a very
I do reality show references sometimes because I've seen a lot of them until YouTube drama and the Jomhas came my way. I don't expect anybody to understand what I'm talking about. I know it's all deep cuts. This is sad.
Carefree life. Why do you expect him to all of a sudden be A-type? He ain't gonna be A-type. Aisha is being boring. Maxwell, boring. But yeah, she wants to change a lot of shit about Maxwell. She's getting worse and worse. She might even be D category, right? Because when I'm judging her compared to Marissa, I'm like, they're close to being
You're not being very empathetic to these people with cameras in their faces.
on the same level. And then last, but certainly not least, is Shay and Annabelle. Shay is from Paducah, Kentucky. Annabelle is from the Philippines. And yeah, this is the guy with the...
I don't like his penis, a bad smell.
Penis, a bad smell. And yeah, it seems like...
Without mentioning penis, your wife's literally said that about you. Just saying.
He's kind of a cheating guy. He doesn't consider it cheating. It's just flirting. And this episode, I think, is going to get really fucking crazy. Because it looks like he's actively, like...
Oh, everybody! The 90 Day Fiancé sucks because it's like an anime. It has a lot of filler. You could just watch the reunion show and you'll get all the highlights and the clips that fucking mattered. This show, that's my... Like I said, it's educational, I'll argue, but... It's just a whole bunch of... There'll be one scene per episode and then a whole bunch of trash. So, like I'm saying, Ian is having trouble.
Flirting with a young girl in front of his wife.
That'd be terrible. Did you know that Cat Icarus collabed with the Angry Video Game Nerd? Cool. Let's do...
Following red pillars...
Not that. We're not doing that crime. Sneeko.
Today, I want to talk about...
After that, yeah, actually, let's look at the pussification of games, and then we'll end with a crime. Might have to save the Sega Killer for next time. But yeah, I need to see a summary. This is the pussification of video games. When did this come out? 1 year ago. But it pretty much puts all the blame on LGBT. Let's see if that's true. I blame... not the LGBT. I blame marketing and focus testers and stupid motherfuckers that are pushing things that were popular 5 fucking years ago, and then they're late, and then it's old, and then it's bad.
About the great pussification of video games that has happened the past 20 years. Is it a sort...
I cannot think of many LGBT people who aren't performative as fuck being like, I gotta go to Target to go buy my Pride merchandise. Like, who is this stuff for?
Soy-based diet doing this? Is it the rise of OnlyFans simping doing this? If you have recently had the thought, I wonder what new pumpkin-flavored items Trader Joe's has, be careful, my brother in Christ, you might be gay now. But if there's one thing that is straight as hell, it's the rock-solid video games of the 2000s. Your Gears of War, your Medals of Honor, your Chronicles of Riddicks. These games were masculine as hell, and we want them back, and we're boycotting video games until they come back.
Medal of Honor was just a Call of Duty ripoff, wasn't it? And I haven't thought about Chronicles and Riddick in like 84 years.
I recently saw this disappointing photo of Phil Spencer being pushed out of the photo by 2 domineering girl bosses who are probably unfulfilled because they're trying to succeed in the corporate world instead of having children at home like God
Oh, we found Think Before You Sleep's father.
designed them
This
to.
channel.
And don't you love Phil's cute little Doom shirt? Like, hey guys, I'm still one of the bros, right? Look, like, we can still hang, right? Nah, Phil, you're trash. You got cucked, dude. You're useless. So I have found that there are still people out there who deny the simple fact that games have gone woke, homo, and gay in 2024. So
Damn, he's not giving us no educated fucking mission statement or like explaining society. He's just saying it. Whoa.
in this video, I'm going to literally prove it to you using science. What we will do is read the back of the box description of 6 random games from 2024, and then we will read the back of the box descriptions of 6 random games from the 2000s. And if what I'm saying is true, we should notice a feminization, a pussification, a gayification of video games that has happened the past 20 years. And before you bring up that video games don't have boxes anymore in 2024, calm your tits, you know what I mean. So to find 6 modern games, I didn't have to look very far. I literally just went to the front page of Xbox Game Pass and found these games. This is clearly what Phil and his team of homos actually expects us men to play. Here they are.
All right. I will admit, this is why I think some people are going under, because I have not heard of a single fucking one of these. This one looks like a mobile game. This one does too. Is this Rush for the PS Vita?
Creatures of Ava, Dungeons of Hinterberg, Flintlock Siege of Dawn, Flock, Magical Delicacy, and Chia. Now you might say, oh Andrew, you're specifically picking out games aimed at children. No dude, I'm literally just going to the front page of Game Pass, and these are 6 games featured on the front page of Game Pass. Also, side note, isn't it weird that these pedo developers are always making games aimed at kids? But that's a whole other thing I'm not going to get into right now.
Uh-oh.
All right, so what games from the 2000s should we compare these with? These are 6 kind of random games that I just happen to pull off the shelf without thinking too much about it. They are Brothers in Arms Road to Hill 30, Ride to Hell Retribution, Modern Warfare 2.
Okay, Ride to Hell Retribution. That's not manly, that's unplayable.
Dark Sector, Deus Ex Human Revolution, Chronicles of Riddick, Assault on Dark Athena. And again, all I'm going to do here is read the descriptions and we will compare. 2024, Creatures of Ava. Let your empathy guide you as you play an exciting action-adventure creature saver game. Understand and tame the creatures of Ava and let them lead you through a variety of ecosystems, all in the hopes of saving the planet from a life-consuming infection.
Sounds like a children's book, though.
I also found out that the 2 main characters of this game are, of course, homosexual black women because, you know, 2024. Let your empathy guide you? Like, what the hell? I don't play video games to let my empathy guide me in, ooh, I want to be gay and collect creatures and, like this game.
It looks like just a ripoff of, it looks like Power World type.
Just sounds retarded, let's be honest. So now let's compare this with a game from 20 years ago. 2005, Brothers in Arms Road to Hill 30. The back of the box says this: they would sacrifice everything except each other. Like, damn, dude, just grabs you by the balls. Like, that is the back of a box.
No, that's like a rom-com fucking quote on the book, on the DVD spine. Let's calm down here.
I'm like, okay, I'm interested now. That is a dope intro for a back of the box. It goes on, the night before D-Day, 1944, the paratroopers of the 101st Airborne Division are dropped into Normandy and scattered behind enemy lines. As Sergeant Matt Baker, lead your squad through 8 harrowing days that will define history and unite you forever as brothers in arms. Like, bro, like the balls of these games description. I have to go play this game now. See, this is what's honestly missing from the 2024 homo trash. Like, nothing is good anymore. Nothing grabs us. This is why video games profits are down. And they've completely quit catering to their base market of men. Next game, 2024 Dungeons of Hinterberg. Armed with a sword and a
What the fuck is this shit?
tourist guide, explore the beautiful alpine village of Hinterberg and uncover the magic hidden within its dungeons. Master magic, solve puzzles, slay monsters. All this and more awaits you in Hinterberg. Like, okay, I like swords, but based on the game's art style, I know within the first 5 minutes, we're meeting somebody's non-binary boyfriend. Like, nah, dude, I'm good. Now compare this with the 2013 masterpiece, Ride to Hell Retribution. Back of the box says this: 2 fists, 2 wheels, no rules. Now, it's a little cheesy, but I already know one thing. This game has balls.
This game was garbage.
But it gets better. A lone rider, Jake Conway, locked in a battle to the death against a ruthless gang of bikers called the Devil's Hand. Okay, and you got a hot chick on the back. Like, dude, I'm in. I want to play this game now. These 2024 games will be 3 sentences long and still can't grab my attention. And then with like 1 word, this 2013 game completely has me by the balls. Like, guys, it kind of makes me sad that America
He kind of does sound gay, doesn't he?
actually used to export like cool stuff to the world, and now it's just homo woke garbage that America is exporting. Like I know you dudes in Europe know what I'm talking about. Like America used to export, you know, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, the Stallone movies, like all of the awesome stuff of the 80s and 90s, and look at like the homo trash garbage that America is exporting today, and it's such a shame. Next game, 2024.
China likes it.
Flintlock Siege of Dawn. Step into the boots of Nor Van Anik, an elite member of the Coalition Army, joined by Inky, a mysterious fox-like companion, in their quest for vengeance against the gods. Guided by Inky, who shares his knowledge of the world with you, your combat skills and traversal abilities will be imbued with its magical powers, making you a duo to be reckoned with. Like, nah, dude, it just sounds gay. It sounds queer. Why is every game like...
I agree. That was all my brain was thinking the whole time.
This now. It's always some magical nonsense that never sounds cool. It's like none of these developers beta tested any of these ideas with normal guys. I guarantee you get a bunch of straight dudes in a room and they would tell you this idea was terrible. Oh, but the cherry on top, of course, is this. Black female lesbian girl boss as the main character. Like, F off, dude. I'm not playing. I think it's a woman. It might be a man. It might be a they, them. All right, jumping back to the 2000s. And I know this isn't fair to compare this game, but it just...
Everyone's saying you can't say these things on YouTube. This video got a 0.5 million views.
Popped off my shelf.
Bruh, I think it makes sense to have a female protagonist if it's hot, so you can stare at it. That's the gimmick there, right?
2009 Modern Warfare 2. Back of the box says this. Modern Warfare 2 continues the gripping and heart-racing action as players face off against a new threat dedicated to bringing the world to the brink of collapse. Like, yes, dude, I want to know that new threat dedicated to bringing the world to the brink of collapse. Also, if you had played Call of Duty before this, you're kind of already invested, so it's a great tagline. 2024 game, Flock. Flock is a multiplayer co-op game about the joy of flight and collecting adorable flying creatures with your friends.
There was those My Sims games I played on the Wii for like a minute, and when I'd babysit, I'd bring those over because they're very simple. They look like this. Things ain't improving much in the children's genre, is it?
Through beautiful landscapes, seeking out rare and elusive creatures to add to your flock. Like,
what the fuck do I mean? That Mario Kart world looks amazing. What the fuck is this shit?
Dude, this shit is gay. Like, this is either designed for a 5-year-old, or it's designed for a 30-year-old gay man, or it's designed for a woman. But none of those people are buying Xboxes. Like, Phil, you're retarded, and your company's gonna go out of business if you keep this up. All right, jumping back to the 2000s, this is a good one. Dark Sector 2008. Become the ultimate weapon. The virus, the source of your pain. Your enemy, your power. Unleash the deadly power of the glaive and become the hero. Like, dude, that's the back of a box right there. Now I'm intrigued. Now I'm like, whoa, a virus? My power? What is the glaive? Like, what is this about? I want to become the ultimate weapon. Like, in the 2000s, games were made by straight dudes. And in 2020, games are made by mostly gay men and women. Like, it's that simple. Men, actual straight men, we want power.
Well, I was thinking today about, you know, when a video game developer company like goes under, everyone does the, oh my god, everybody, you gotta follow and support all these developers, they're gonna have a hard time. And I was like, fuck those people. They did make the not good games, and even if management limited them, they could still use their creativity to do something cool. It's a skill issue. But it occurred to me, it's all artists on these social medias, never shutting the fuck up all day because they don't have jobs. They all watch out for each other in this independent freelance world. Now it makes sense. They need you to remember that artists didn't choose the paintbrush. It chose them, and they are poor. Give them money.
Power. We want cool weapons. We want, you know, deadly powers and glaives and becoming the ultimate weapon. That sounds cool. But if you're a gay man or a woman or a child, none of which are people who actually play video games, then you want to collect adorable creatures.
Children love video games, but like I think the kids that would play that game would just play free mobile games.
It really comes down to that. 2024, Magical Delicacy, and I've made fun of this game before. A wholesome pixel art platformer. Cook magical delicacies from a vast collection of ingredients in your own shop. Explore an unfamiliar town and deliver tasty treats to
What is up with that boob bounce for a game for women?
the townsfolk. Like, no, dude. What the fuck? Yeah, no straight guy has ever thought, I want to
Now, Zynga is like the #1 game developers of all time. They made Facebook their money with all those Facebook browser games. This person was too late.
To deliver tasty treats to the townsfolk. That is something women would do, but that is not something a straight guy would be like, ooh, I want to deliver tasty treats.
Don't tell me who in the server you're sharing fucking Gooner stuff with.
Jumping back to a classic from the 2000s, Deus Ex Human Revolution 2011. The big text says, the truth will change you. Like, damn, son, what truth? I have to know. What is being
I will say this guy does seem easily impressed.
hidden from me? It goes on. Critically injured after a deadly attack, Adam Jensen undergoes a life-saving operation, augmenting him with powerful cybernetics. Caught in the middle of a vast conspiracy, Adam's choices will affect both himself and all of humanity as he seeks answers.
Oh, I get it. We gotta imagine that this is teenage Eric Cartman who made this video.
Across the globe. Like, dude, I am rock hard right now. Like, I want to play this game. I don't want to play anything about collecting adorable creatures or delivering gay treats to people's houses. I want to play whatever Human Revolution is about. And it's funny because, like, I can't put my finger on exactly what made 2000s games so good, but
What about all the Harvest Moon games that came out? I know it's crazy that existed before Stardew Valley, and like 3 would come out every year. What about Animal Crossing on the GameCube in 64? What about THQ's fucking Powerpuff Girls fighting game? They make games for other people sometimes. Like, yeah, men buy the most video games. I understand this, because women have shit to do. But, like, the Wii and the DS's success was all going for the casual gamer. The complaint is they gotta go for the casual gamer better with something new that's not been seen before. It's why when I do make, like, video game plots and try to think of things, it's gotta be, like, I'll like, base something on, like, tracings from other games. I use it like tracing, right? But then my complete own spin, my own thing. I'm not gonna copy no one else's fucking movies and plot lines. It'll be something different. And at least if it fails, you tried and you could say you're not a fucking David Cage-like writer.
it has something to do with men. We're dudes and we want games about dudes. And we want games about male transformation and identity and a man who is
Play Fate Stay Night, there you go.
Going through something, who is actually a man. I can't really describe what made the 2000s games so good other than that they're focused exclusively on the male psyche. Because it was men playing the games. It's always been men playing the games. So as long as Sony and Xbox...
What the fuck have I been doing with my life then? 1997 was hell of a year. Final Fantasy VII and Pokemon came out, and I've always liked turn-based RPGs. Like I said, I'll play my Harvest Moons, I'll play my Animal Crossing, but then sometimes... Oh, it's foreplay, but we'll put in Modern Warfare 2 on the 360. And then I will really suck at it, and I'll get shot, and then that blood on the screen gets annoying, and then we put in the real stuff. Viva Pinata.
Don't realize this obvious fact and keep designing games for 14-year-old girls, for women, and for gay men, I truly think Xbox is going to go out of business, and Sony will go out of business if they don't figure out who their audience is quickly. 2024 game, Chia, a tropical...
Sony don't need to make video games either. They make movies and have record labels and make fucking computers. Calm down.
Adventure. Take control of any animal or object you can find and jam on your fully...
These all just look like fucking Pal World without the guns. Therefore, shitty, bad... If you're gonna buy one of these, why wouldn't you play the stupid Pokemon Legends games? Either that or Pal World. This is just stupid. Legs clipping in the grass.
Ukulele. Like, no, dude. This just sounds like some cozy garbage trash game. Like, if I wanted to... If I wanted to chill out and do nothing, I would just go do something besides play a video game. But when I play a video game, I want to have, like, an intense...
Wow, this person's opinion's bad. I like playing them because it shuts my brain off completely. For some reason, like, if I'm playing, like, Call of Duty or something, let's say, like, I always am thinking, did I grab... I kind of am thinking with a game developer brain. Because, like, I'll pick up a gun, right? Supposedly, you can just do whatever. Only use me blade, only uses a blade. but I'm like, is this the gun I'm supposed to be using in this scenario? They left it here for a reason, and I overthink things, and I'm like, I don't know what left and right is anymore. I'm in circles. And it's like, I think there's some games, I play some action RPGs, I do play a video game, but like those get my concentration. The cozy games, that's when I can just shut my brain off and not think about a million things.
Experience. I don't want to have some cozy trash experience. So my only thinking with this is that Xbox...
Oh, this person's opinions is bad. So... No, we won't do THQ. What happened to THQ? They do licensed games. So I think you could make a great licensed game. You just gotta be the person in the fucking room. Like I said, wouldn't it be wild to take a Disney property and straight up turn it into a turn-based RPG or a fucking Fire Emblem-like strategy game? That'd be insane. Anyway, there's 2 bodies.
There's one right here.
Go ahead and set the sword down for me, dude.
When a frightened tenant reports gunshots inside his own home, deputies race to the scene only to discover a brutal double homicide. But as detectives begin piecing together the events leading up to the shooting, they unravel a story that defies all logic.
I heard a creepy voice saying he wanted to
Oh, well, he was scared, so it's understandable.
do something to my boss.
On November 7th, 2025, in Bernalillo County, New Mexico, police receive a desperate 911 call from a man afraid to leave his bedroom.
Tell me exactly what happened.
Escúchame, estaba viendo
That was very unenthused, operator.
televisión y oí unos disparos en el centro de la casa afuera.
You heard them inside? How many shots did you hear?
Well, it's weird that he's asking in English. Clearly he hears the Spanish. Because I guess that's why Spanish is easy. It's not... They don't do too much of the, adjectives and all that. It's more blunt, so it's easier to learn.
Promedio de 5 disparos por ahí, lo más, no sé. Veo un señor y alguien que salió, pero no lo logro distinguir porque me dio miedo. Estoy encerrado en mi cuarto, ¿no?
Okay, I'm gonna have the deputies go make contact with you.
Officers are immediately dispatched to the
Okay, that sounds like quite the day you're having. I guess I can pencil you in.
residence. However, before they can enter the property, an unexpected encounter with an armed resident...
Jesus Christ, they knew what they were doing when they put that scary sound in there. We just got jumped. This is a fucking Vincent Price Death Devils here. Put a bag over its head. I'm terrified.
Stops them in their tracks.
Sheriff's office. Did you call, brother? What's going on, dude?
I did my part.
What's that?
I did my part.
You did your part.
Yeah, for the Marines. There's bodies.
What?
God, can you not hear him? He's used to hearing very well, actually. We can spot Dumbo all the way from over here.
There's 2 bodies. There's one right here.
Go ahead and set the sword down for me, dude.
Down, brother. All right.
Ah, samurai killers.
Yeah, set the sword down. Do you have any other weapons on you?
Yes.
Guaranteed this guy's a gaymore.
Hey, stop! Get your hands out of your pockets right now. Walk towards us. Walk towards us. Walk towards us now. Walk towards us now.
Is he like, I need a bathroom break? Fuck, is this Foxwolf? It seems like, nah, but he's French, though.
The man carrying both a sword and a handgun would later be identified as
Herbie Hobbs'
25-year-old
territory.
Alexis Hernandez, while
Deport him today. He looks like he's gonna fucking do no Russia in an airport.
deputies secure Alexis. A desperate cry from the home suddenly shifts their priorities.
I'm going in. Go, there's a kid. Go. What's up, buddy?
Okay, it's nice to know if it's a kid, they'll take off running. If it was a fucking 16-year-old Marissa the cousin, fuck that bitch. New Mexico.
What's wrong, buddy? What's wrong, dude? What's wrong, dude? Where's your dad at? Where's your dad, buddy?
The little boy.
This little kid is actually very well put together considering the age and fucking probably seen a dead body.
Boy appears too frightened to answer the officer's question. So aside from Alexis's claim that there are 2 bodies inside, the deputy has no idea what awaits him as he rushes through the front door.
Who's all here, buddy?
The deputy
Skinny Pete is having a bad time.
immediately discovers a body covered in blood. The victim would later be identified as Hector Rios, the homeowner. Nearby, the officer finds a second child still asleep in bed. Police escort both of Hector's children.
Well, not to get a silver lining, but like usually when we go psycho killing mode, we've seen over and over again the children getting sacrificed because they're also witnesses. And murderers are horrible, this is true. But it's like, thank God he left the kids alone.
Children to safety.
Come here, buddy. Come on. Come outside. Come outside, dude. Come on. Come here. Come here. It's okay. Come here. It's okay. Come here. It's okay. It's okay, buddy. Hey. Hey, buddy. Hey. Come here. Come here. Well, alternative. Hey. Come on.
With both children safely in deputies' care, additional responding officers begin clearing the rest of the property in search of anyone still inside.
Well, that picture, maybe the Protestants were right about iconoclast and all that, because that picture of Mary weeping at Jesus' feet or whatever didn't stop this.
We have one male bleeding his face down in the kitchen of the house.
Sheriff's office, come out now!
I mean, I love the colors of this house. I wouldn't love them if I were drunk. I understand this is Latina interior design. I am not dissing. I love these colors. But, I can just imagine having a headache, though. Like, I would hate it once I have a headache. Oh, this guy's got a gun drawn. But it looks like Breaking Bad is in, like, this is, like, legit. Real people. Real homes.
Come out now! Keep your hands up! Come out of the room now! Stepping up with rifle. Step outside right now!
Oh, okay, we got a room with a maroon, and it's dark. That's a good place to go when you're hungover.
Two men, including the
Best
911
house ever.
caller, eventually emerge from their rooms. The men are temporarily detained, but officers know the most disturbing discovery may still lie ahead.
We're gonna go check right now.
You want to breach that door?
Hey, dog. Watch there. Open door. Get that door shut.
I'm on it. Quick.
Sheriff's office.
We gotta go.
Yep.
We have another bed down. Looks like beaten unconscious.
The second victim would later be identified as Yorces Toledo, another tenant of the residence. His body bears the unmistakable signs of an extraordinarily violent attack.
You want to see this dead guy or this dead guy first? We'll start at the back.
They've seen a lot of shit in New Mexico. It's just a normal question. We're at a crime scene. Which body?
So literally right in here, and there's casings all along the floor.
I want you to think while this terrible thing's going on, while these cops are just so broken by the world they barely have reaction but are gonna do their best. Somewhere out there in a New Mexico mall that's got like 3 customers in the whole building, Herbie Hops is running around with his cell phone, bitching to himself about how all the cops are pedophiles and he can't afford to go to BronyCon.
More when you get inside.
What is life but a million stories?
5, 6, damn. Oh, wow. Yeah, he got lit up. That's not...
Dude, Breaking Bad did do this. I need to go to New Mexico one day. It does look beautiful. I want to go see all those rock formations.
Brain hanging from the ceiling, is it? No. No. I just saw something red, like, dang, I was like, yeah. I mean, it's like last year's Christmas.
We're at a minimum of at least 12 in here. Yeah.
After examining Yorces' body, detectives count roughly 12 gunshot wounds, an unusually high number considering the Glock that Alexis
Oh, I thought 12 was their limits. Like, if there's a 12th dead body, the FBI is coming in and we don't have to deal with this no more.
surrendered held only 6 rounds, but Yorces isn't the only one riddled with bullet holes.
I know I've said this already, but I got a body cam prediction coming out, because, you know, Michigan, they're easy to come out of there. We got a murder in a place called Rockford. We got another schizo murder there. That one's gonna make you woo, because they love those. But there was a terrible murder in Grand Rapids. I've described this before, where some kid was playing soccer, but then the other kids was like, you can't play soccer with me. And then his older brother said, fucking stop picking on my brother, I'll fight you. And I'm talking adults, 20-year-olds, fight the parents of the other kids. And he said, okay, well, put up your dukes, let's fight. And then the guy brought out, and then like the brother of the soccer playing kid just brought out a gun and shot him point blank. That's not how you play soccer. That's gonna make it.
Jesus Christ. There's cases everywhere. Alright. I haven't even seen poor Hector yet, dude. Pretty much easy to see kind of what happened.
Despite the detective's optimistic statement, the investigation is far from over. After releasing both detained witnesses and taking the children to the station, the lead detective sits down with Alexis, hoping to gain insight into what led to the shooting.
Well, bipolar disorder community, if y'all don't get some real therapists up in this bitch and real psychologists, not these fucking, I'm going to college to figure out what's wrong with me and learn about serial killers. You don't get those people, and then, because these crazy people are not doing good for the mental health awareness community. People are gonna be like, oh no, the BPDs are running wild in the streets again.
However, when asked about his living situation as one of Hector's tenants, Alexis's answer quickly takes an unusual turn.
I heard that guy on the other side of the wall, like stalking me.
But he looks like he could play a Japanese World War II soldier.
And I don't know.
Oh no. Really? Okay. So, do you know who that guy is? Like a name? Like, do you know his name?
Name's Hector Rios, but I thought I knew him. And
Hector Rios?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think I really know him at all.
Alexis would later state that he and Hector had always gotten along. He would even go as far as saying that he viewed Hector as a father. But just a few months before the shooting, a seemingly...
Is Alexis a Latino male name? Or do we perhaps have Russian and Latino?
ordinary day would mark the beginning of a growing unease surrounding Hector.
A few months ago, I started getting some signs that
I've never heard a guy with the name Alexis, but I immediately think like Russian type names. Like Alexei and
I might have
stuff.
been in trouble, like.
What do you mean?
I stock a little shelf, so for people, and then the people.
It's because we were on the topic of murder, Fuyin. Did you know in China, some guy fucking played an MMO, and there was a sword, and he said, I'm gonna let you, my friend, use this sword to grind with faster. And then that guy turned around and sold the bitch, and there were no protections at the time for this type of thing. So the police said, get out of here, nerd. We're not doing anything about that. We're fascist China. We deal with real problems. And then that guy got a knife and stabbed the other guy to death. But in China, I guess they say it's horrible over there. You go to, this is what I learned today. You get sentenced to death, but you got 3 years suspended where you gotta prove you're a good boy. And if you prove you're a good boy for 3 months, they're like, we're not putting you to death, you good boy. And then if you keep being good, you could actually get out on parole. You just keep earning yourself more perks like an RPG. Like I said, that was fascinating. I don't know where I was.
There's more when you get inside. Concerns over Hector suspecting something began at work. They certainly wouldn't end there. If anything, they only worsened while he was at home.
Well, he was supposed to get released without parole, but no one can find him now. There is no trace of his existence. He might have got,
I think all the lights in that room are cameras. I think there's a camera. And then I checked the windows, and then I realized that those things are sealed.
Oh, in America, it takes 40 years to put you to death. So like I said, these people still get to live fucking full motherfucking lives in better prison cells because it's they're gonna die, so they get TVs and shit and air conditioning for 40 years.
Is bulletproof. He has the keys to the door. I heard him, I don't know, like through the wall, I heard a creepy voice saying he wanted to do something to my balls, and I don't know, like it was just so scary.
I can imagine.
So someone threatened to do something to his balls, so the whole household needed to die.
That would be scary.
After what Alexis interpreted as a deeply personal threat, he left the residence.
Is that what you call prisoners neats? It's kind of involuntary neat, though, isn't it?
Hoping a visit with his parents would ease his fears. It would do quite the opposite.
I talked to my mom about it, but she didn't really believe me, and she said that they knew him.
Okay,
but I don't think
knew Hector?
Apparently, but I don't think they knew him at all. I started seeing a lot
Fucking Hector Salamanca's fucking backstory.
of signs.
Just remade in the future.
The signs pointed out that I had to end him, or he was going to end me and my family.
Alexis struggles to explain what exactly the signs said. So rather than press him further, the detective redirects the conversation to what specifically.
The detective's like, man, the mental illness did this crime. Not my problem no more.
Led to the shooting.
When I went to work and came back, she left me a message, like an encrypted message. It was a dead cockroach, and I remember that one time his son, he was afraid of cockroaches, and I told him not to be afraid. And to cockroaches, you gotta step on them.
People in death row, they're all like your roommates or your cells next to someone else from death row that's its own wing. So like they ain't out going to go do, you know, work things, but I'm sure they get to like mop that department and shit for 50 cents commissary.
Mm-hmm.
And so I figured out the message was that he was gonna kill me.
Alexis would then leave his home, go to a gas station, buy a Marine Corps saber from an unknown seller, arm himself with a handgun, and prepare.
I don't think we've ever seen this before. He bought the sword, to do a murder. Usually the sword murders happen because the bitch was hanging on the wall or was accessible. I've never seen premeditated sword.
Prepare for the worst.
So today, obviously, when this happened,
I keep thinking this is a PNG touched up by AI, but he looks like that.
what was Hector doing that made you think you needed to shoot him?
He was taking me to the room. He told me to go with him, and the other guy was right behind me. I don't know, like there's no way out.
Okay. Do you remember where you shot him at?
I think in the head, and then I don't know. I just...
Okay. So, the other guy.
But could it be possible that after committing such a brutal murder, he might be traumatized and don't know what the fuck?
Why did you shoot him?
I'm pretty sure he was with Hector. I think they were gonna get me.
According to Alexis, the threat ended with those first shots. The shooting happened.
Or maybe English is a second language and he's being polite to all of us body cam Ewu watchers.
However, would not.
Like after the shooting? Did you go to your car at all?
I went to Reno and I went back, and again, I don't know, I've never done anything like that. I was afraid.
Did you?
Unless he's just like, because I can't imagine he can't be low IQ and then have a conversation in a second language, right? So maybe English is the first language, but then if English is his only language, it's like, why is he talking so simple? It's gotta be trauma or fucking, I don't know.
You load one magazine or both?
Both.
Alexis then went back inside to deliver a second volley of gunfire. According to an autopsy report, it was substantial. Hector Rios was shot 4 times in the head and 12 times in the body, while Yorces was shot once in the head, with the other 9 going to his body.
Well, Spock would find this illogical. I'm more of a Spock person. Alright. Actually, we'll do one more, but whatever one's the shortest. Then we out of here. Sega Killer's 28 minutes long. Let's learn about the murder that is THQ, since Fuyin's here and he didn't see no video game goodness. I was playing solitaire, but no one needs to know that. I won 4 games in a row, no fuck-ups. THQ makes the licensed games. Angry Video Game Nerd says they're bad. I don't have any fond memories of any of them, I don't think. Well, no, they're a game company. They make other games. We'll get educated. Y'all remember fucking Matt McMuscles from Two Best Friends said no one ever? I like him, though. I like all of them.
Welcome back to another fact compiling and chapter 11 filing episode of What Happened, the YouTube style pop culture media show that searches under the bubbly sea and on the mean streets for the most compelling stories of video game related hijinks. And there's few stories more fascinating than that of the rise and very sudden fall of THQ, the
Did THQ make the game where, like, you get attacked by a monster in needles because it takes place in a prison? I forgot what it's called.
seminal kids-focused publisher who, throughout the 2000s, filled many a bargain bin in many a GameStop with
okay, hold on, though. Style Savvy is actually really good. That's all.
Many of their unsold wares. Now, the tale of a company once valued at over $2 billion being reduced to a fraction of that in a few short years couldn't have just had one root cause or problem. Oh no. You very much needed a ton of different people at the top making an equal ton of bad decisions all at the same time, along with a good ol' helping of very poor timing and changing markets that they failed to adapt to. So grab as much Nickelodeon /
Yeah, changing markets fail to adapt to is pretty much the summary of what's wrong with the video game industry. Like I said, everyone wants to say woke and LGBT. That's probably like literally 3% of it, and that's mostly internet shit. And we think everyone's gonna be into this. We decided 5 years ago.
Disney slop as you can as I answer the question, what happened to THQ?
I'd make myself a snack, but there's no time!
THQ, or Toy Headquarters, ironically started as a toy company in Agora Hills, California in the magical year known as 1990. Founded by one Brian Farrell, a well-liked fatherly figure to pretty much everyone that worked under him,
At least so with these games, because they're making, like, home improvements and, like, you know, at least they had to do sprite work and put some thought. But then they would just be lazy as fuck, I guess, because, like, the Wayne's World game, why were you fighting light sockets? Why does it look like the 7-Up game? But then with the fucking 3D ones, it's just, here's Ratatouille's model.
HQ then added video games to their product line because they were getting pretty hot with the advent of 16-bit machines, so much so that they just dropped the whole toy-making thing within just a year or two. It should be noted, however, especially for fans of this channel, that THQ didn't exactly get off on the right foot in the video game space, developing the likes of James Bond Jr., various Home Alone games that weren't worth melting with a blowtorch, and
I wonder, I'm kind of interested in James Bond Jr. Did his dad pay child support? Look at this guy's lip shirts.
Possibly, and most infamously of all, the SNES version of Pit Fighter. As the 90s wore on, though, THQ eventually started snapping up licenses people actually wanted to play video game adaptations of, such as Ren and Stimpy, Japanese-made wrestling games, and the occasional Disney property. Other licenses then came, like Rugrats, Scooby-Doo, Power Rangers, and many, many others, to the point where they could barely keep up with the demand, releasing dozens of offerings throughout the year. This fervent desire for more and more kid-focused content was noticed by Brian Farrell.
Like I said, if you didn't have to push out 20 of these bitches and you have a creative mind, I would like this limitation of, and then I'd go watch it, I'd get all into it, and then I would, like, just come up with my own fanfic video game version of it. That would be so fucking fun.
Who felt that with the rise of the Cartoon Network, along with Nickelodeon and Disney programming, that there would be no shortage of things to adapt and then sell. Because we all know what happens with the gravy train.
Like a Kim Possible fucking clone of, like, Splinter Cell. That would be excellent.
It never ever stops. I mean, sure, the licenses cost a pretty penny, but that money would be saved elsewhere during the actual development, as smaller, cheaper studios would then be contracted to make them, and with unmovable release dates already set in stone. Quality of the actual game be damned. This kept building and building through the early and mid-2000s, with the company occasionally diversifying with 2 to 3 multi-million selling wrestling products per year, and rarer mature-rated titles like your Red Factions, your Evil Deads, or your Grim Peaks into the 40.
Actually, though, you gotta appreciate the wrestling games because they do put out one a year, and it's like that is a roster that is forever changing due to drama, contract disputes, all sorts of shit. So it is like buying the game from that year. It's like this was the year I liked wrestling, and this was the brackets I liked. That's kind of like you don't feel that with any other sports game, I don't think.
First century. Speaking of peaks, THQ very much did in 2007, where they released 4 to 10 video games per month, 100% owned 15 different development studios, and employed several thousand workers. So after the very profitable year that was 2007, it was then logically followed up by 2008 and the global financial crisis. This hit the world and the video game industry pretty hard, with everyone's stonks taking a shellacking, but eventually
See, the video game industry's already been through it. They'll survive.
Eventually, competitors like EA, Activision, and Nintendo all bounced back, with their stonks returning to whatever normal level subhumans in suits deemed they should be. Curiously though, THQ was not among them, as their financials steadily started to slide with no light at the end of the tunnel. Why, you ask? Well, that's because in the years following the financial crisis, children, or more accurately their parents, looked to save money by opting not to purchase a $60 Cars or Marvel.
Bruh, like for real, all my games came from garage sales or I got them for Christmas.
Superhero Squad title, and instead put their ragamuffins in front of a tablet or phone with a mindless.
In 2007, because I didn't have a PlayStation 2 myself, because my dad owned the PS2 and then my parents got divorced, and I didn't consider that when I wished my parents would get divorced, that I would lose the PS2. But one Black Friday, I got the one that comes with Guitar Hero and Bully for under $100. Whoa.
But free touch-based titles of little depth. Hell, I mean, they didn't care, they're kids. They're stupid. So, seemingly overnight, the market for licensed games, and specifically licensed games aimed at children, began to shrink and shrink and shrink. That's bad enough for a company that specialized in such markets, but was made even worse by the contracts typified by Brian Farrell's business strategy.
Well, like, back then you could at least sell these games to Blockbuster so people could rent them. That's something you always got to consider with games in the 90s and 2000s, is fuckers rented them. Like, in the Gamefly had a little time. Gamefly is still around, actually. Everyone should use it if they hate fucking digital releases. Anyway. You would rent the game, and then, like, just that's what it would happen. The kids would go there on Friday, parents picking out a fucking movie, and then they pick out whatever stupid license game, but they, games were like $80 a piece, and times that by all the home video rental stores. It's easy cash grab. But now, are you really gonna sell someone a game, like, based on a show that's like, like, at least they try the Nickelodeon All-Stars, like, put them all together.
He favored long multi-game deals that would include the initial adaptation of the first movie or TV show, its already planned sequels/seasons, and then various spin-offs in between. So even when THQ could see these titles were no longer flying off the shelves, they were still contractually obligated to make more, losing additional money each and every time because, again, some of these licenses weren't cheap, and they no longer sold enough to balance out those costs. Brian Farrell was then at a crossroads with a damned if you do and damned if you don't style choice. If they wanted to turn THQ around and continue to exist, they would need to either fully embrace the mobile market or go all in on developing their original IPs in addition to creating new ones. And of course, in typical what happened fashion, they chose to fully commit to neither.
Said, make your own IP. You've already got this whole team. Risk it for the biscuit, and if that don't work out, switch tactics.
In the Polygon article, The Fall of THQ, several unnamed former employees revealed that pivoting to the mobile market simply wasn't viable.
Oh, it was clearly that awful fucking logo is what did it.
As they weren't set up to develop tiny games that back then were made by 2 to 4 people, when each of their studios employed hundreds. Of course, pushing their more Xbox 360 and PS3-centric IPs like Saints Row or 50 Cent blowing up an entire country was something they could do. Brian Farrell didn't want to give up on the E-for-everyone market, as he felt that mobile gaming was more or less a fad, and that the kids would once again...
I mean, no one plays Cut the Rope or Flappy Bird anymore. He was... like, I think the type of games that came out with the iPod Touch when the App Store was brand new, I think that's done.
Again, return to the rainbows and unicorns of THQ gaming goodness.
But I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
What Farrell eventually decided to do was go with the moderate approach, splitting the company into two divisions, with one focusing on core games and one continuing into the endlessly swirling black hole that was the licensed kids market. Now, while many saw this as a reasonable move, especially early on,
like I said, just do something interesting that's not one of these dumb platformers collect coins. That's been done a million times. If you had the time and the creativity, and you could make they could have made it on RPG Maker. Who wouldn't play the SpongeBob turn-based, like, Legacy Goku fucking clone?
Complications soon started to crop up. Not from outside the company, mind you, but rather within it. Danny Bilson, formerly of...
Oh, but I also keep forgetting, like, they just have to do 3D. They could make it easier on themselves. And then 64 could not do... No one wanted to do a 16-bit game for that.
Arts, where he worked on such franchises as Medal of Honor, was primarily hired at this point to oversee this new core games division. But early on, he was also given a considerable amount of power across all their in-development titles, and he didn't waste any time in using it. That same Polygon article spoke to several former employees who observed Bilson ordering significant design changes to several games to increase their playability and appeal, which would then logically cause them to be delayed or go over budget. The intent here was to space out releases a little more and to give studios additional time to make higher quality experiences than THQ normally provided. This strategy was at odds with how things had been done before, but many within the company, especially in the core games division, felt Bilson was on the right track. This was also bolstered by his mandate that whenever a hot new AAA game came from one of their competitors, THQ employees should play a significant amount of them so they would know what they were up against and to stay informed on where trends were headed. This was a company policy that Brian Farrell...
Are you getting, like, preview copies or something? Because you're playing it when it's already out. They said this is the problem. Then it's like, oh, it was cool and this game did that. 4 years later, when your game's fucking done, it'll be tired and old.
Personally didn't vibe with, putting very little time into each game before quitting and focusing on other business things. Despite the changes Bilson made, fundamentally, he felt that THQ was still rooted in a 90s and early 2000s mentality, which also affected how everything was set up and organized. When he spoke to Polygon for the fall of THQ, he explained how running the core games division was a challenge, because outside of Volition, the vast majority of their wholly owned development houses only had experience working on licensed titles, rather than all original ones. Things were then made even more difficult when the senior management above Bilson decided to close 5 of said studios in a cost-cutting measure, which meant he would need to find fresh concepts and pitches elsewhere. Thankfully, he made some headway in that area by picking up projects like Darksiders, Evolve, and Devil's Third, all of which I've covered in their own dedicated episodes, which should give you some indication on how they impacted THQ's bottom line and its chances for survival. The other problem with core games was previously THQ had never spent more than $10 million developing a single.
I don't hear anybody talk about Darksiders ever. I feel like it was hyped the week it came out, and then it was on PlayStation Plus.
Title, and that included the marketing. But if they truly wanted to make competitive AAA games, especially on 7th generation machines, they would need to spend more on development, like a lot more, and that was obviously a change they never really got the hang of. This then developed into an internal schism between both divisions, with the licensed kids half bitter that the majority of funding was going to the core division, with the core division likewise viewing them as a waste of resources and manpower. It's here where Brian Farrell surrounded himself with like-minded executives like Martin Good, whom he chose to directly run the kids division, leaving it to him to argue over another big contention between both divisions, which was the almighty release date. According to Dave Davis, another manager on the core division side, via that Polygon article, he and Bilson were constantly fighting with THQ's upper management on ship dates, which were usually adhered to by the kids division, but not so much the core one. That model, that mentality, it doesn't work. I mean, you look at the top grossing titles, the most highly regarded titles, and they shipped when they were great. And I don't mean endless development, because that's a recipe for disaster as well, but in the natural course of development, you look at a date you're targeting, and at a certain point in development, you get a very good sense of what it will take to make this game complete at the highest level.
What do we define as endless development, though? Because, like, of course it took forever for Grand Theft Auto 6. It's going to be like the next-gen game. We know this.
level. But things only got worse from there, as these two styles of game development were constantly clashing, and Brian Farrell really couldn't do much about it. I mean, he unleashed this inter-company war, and wasn't really prepared on how to handle it if it went sideways. And on top of that, both sides committed their own independent blunders. So first, representing Team Core, we have the timeline that knows only war, Warhammer 40k Dark Millennium. This was a Bilson brainchild, who, after seeing the mammoth success of World of Warcraft, felt that a long-term MMO that could constantly generate money would become the backbone of the core division. And they didn't even need WoW's 10 million user player count either, just 1 to 2 mil would be enough to keep it profitable. Many in the kids division, though, thought that this was a risky slash kind of insane move, as Dark Millennium started to rack up quite a huge development budget even early on. Now, in terms of it being risky, yeah, it was, as costs began to spin out of control, what with the amount of additional developers they would need to hire.
I would think for your, when you have trouble in your company, your video game development team, and it's like, you know, maybe not do live service when you need to save things and set things right. Maybe not.
And the projected cost of server upkeep, Bilson realized mid-development it simply wouldn't break even, and thus Dark Millennium was banished to the perilous horrors of the warp, with millions having been wasted on a product that never came out. Of course, Team Kids had their own Dark Millennium with the infamous U-Draw tablet, a simple peripheral that came bundled with the Wii game U-Draw Studio, and also had compatibility with a few other later THQ titles. The Kids division was hopeful that its similarity to other successful Wii peripherals would make it a hit, but what they weren't prepared for was just how much. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let me tell you. The first-gen Wii version of the U-Draw tablet did well, really well, and because there was no specific license attached to it, THQ got to keep all the profits, and charge a bit extra considering it was bundling a piece of plastic with the game. Interestingly enough though, when it was initially greenlit for full development in 2008, it was actually Danny Bilson who gave the go-ahead when he had some more say earlier on. Now, the decision to then greenlight a second generation of the tablet for the Xbox 360 and PS3 falls entirely on Kids Division management.
Yeah, I remember this, I think it was from a Scott the Woz video. They had a hit because, you know, the Wii was for the casuals, and, oh, I know my kid has that Wii, I'll pick this accessory up. They like drawing. Drawing? Wii. Got it. You know, it's an easy Christmas gift. Who the fuck was gonna do this on their PS3?
It's been stated that
who the fuck back then would be letting their kids touch their little fucking 4-year-olds fucking touch their peanut butter jelly hands on your fucking next-gen console?
Bilson and others argued against this move, saying that the market simply wasn't there to support it, coupled with the fact that, at the time, Microsoft was heavily promoting the Xbox 360 to the mainstream via the always fun to crap on Kinect motion sensor. So for THQ to then suddenly charge $70 for a tablet at the exact same time as Microsoft was touting that the only controller you would ever need was your whole body, well, that was going to be counterproductive. And it was! This HD version of U-Draw was an unmitigated disaster, selling incredibly dismally, and because it cost more to manufacture and ship, unsold stock, of which there was.
I had the 360 for my Viva Pinata and other mainstream releases, but I have never fucked with the Kinect ever. It looks stupid. I don't know shit about it.
Plenty stabbed THQ that much more at a time when they were already bleeding out. This massive bumble was more or less the wake-up call the company needed to make drastic changes. So after much hemming and hawing, Brian Farrell did just that by deciding to sunset the Kids division and to fully embrace their core IPs and develop new ones. A sequel to Darksiders was put into production, a Volition project with Guillermo del Toro named Insane, Assassin's Creed creator Patrice de Soleil's 1666, which has only now just been resurrected, and even an ambitious co-op first-person shooter based on some upcoming Avengers movie, which would go on to kickstart some sort of cinematic universe. I don't know, doesn't matter. Now, try to be shocked when I tell you none of these projects went to plan. Darksiders 2 was rushed to completion just as rumblings began that THQ were on the verge of bankruptcy, like they literally had no money left to finish that game, so many areas were left barren with various corners cut just to get it shipped. Devil's Third was also not completed by the time THQ announced they were winding down their business, and of course the untold millions spent on a AAA Avengers game which resulted in no game. This began going down in 2012, a year where a very last-minute move was made to save whatever they had left, and that last move was the hiring of Jason Rubin. For those not familiar, Ruben was one of the co-founders of Naughty Dog. For more on him, see my worst fighting game episode of Way of the Warrior. But his task here wasn't exactly to keep THQ afloat under its own power, but instead...
Okay, this would be my tactic if I were a smart person in charge of one of these companies or the game development sphere. If you get to the point where we have to have this release date by Christmas, but you're telling me we gotta cut corners because the game's unfinished, this is what we'll do. I, as the manager purse holder, will say, fine. It needs to be ready by next Christmas, and now you have to add a whole bunch of fucking... Keep following the video game trends, and we're gonna have to, like, make it twice the game, because... when people see it's delayed, like I said, you have the, oh my god, this game's delayed again, fuck those people programming it. But realistically, when it's something like Persona 6 or GTA 6, it's like, well, no shit. It takes a lot of work, I'm sure. It'll be worth the wait. You gotta make a game that's worth the wait if you're gonna put in the wait. And then everybody will love my video game company, because I think of the consumer. Because I want your money, though.
To gussy them up for prospective new owners. He would see what they had in development, streamline any problems he saw, and then try to sell everything to a private firm. And in this case, it was Clear Lake Capital Group, a Los Angeles-based company Ruben already had ties with. Of course, competing voices within THQ would only muddy the waters, so Brian Farrell let go of both Bilson and Davis, with Ruben now running the entire show.
Well, they both did an awful job.
Now, as a reminder, THQ was once valued in 2007 at $2 billion, and by 2012, it had been reduced to $12 million. So when Clear Lake's offer of $60 million came in, many viewed it as a little bit of a lowball offer, specifically THQ's creditors, who are still owed lots of money. To better facilitate this deal, though, Jason and others felt filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy was the best, most logical move. But then a bankruptcy judge felt differently, citing various legal irregularities and determining that the sale to Clear Lake was not in the creditor's benefit, and thus sided with them. This essentially canceled the sale, which disappointed pretty much everyone, with many feeling that if it had gone through, that THQ, the old THQ at least, would still exist today. But instead, the presiding bankruptcy judge ordered that THQ sell all its individual assets, studios, and IPs separately to different buyers, and that's essentially where we are today. Some projects were resurrected under a few different publishers, many others were outright cancelled, while the majority fell to either Deep Silver or Nordic Games, with the latter adopting the THQ branding and were then later absorbed into the Embracer Group, one of the many villains of the current capitalist
Reminder, this chick already left Xbox after saying they lose 30 cents on every dollar and it's not changing.
infested wasteland we now all unfortunately find ourselves in. And not all of these surviving franchises have been, let's say, handled well by their new owners. In fact, most of them haven't, and I've covered several of them already in their own videos. And while it is a good thing that many of them did at least survive THQ's death, you can't help but think that if that sale had gone through and the original THQ management and teams that made said games were retained, things could be a lot better than they are today. What started as an innocent venture to provide adaptations of licensed property.
No, because they didn't save it. They were there the whole time. They had a good thing going. Like I said, when you would go rent these type of shitty games from Blockbuster for the N64, and the video rental places are buying them because the kids will get them on the fucking weekend. It sells itself. And now they didn't adapt to the new market, so bye.
To the kids that enjoyed them eventually collapsed into a gang of vultures picking a corpse apart. But that's the reality of the often changing and always tumultuous games industry. I hope you enjoyed this episode, everybody! Make sure to check out that Polygon article for further reading, with links to both in the description below. And if you out there know of any other stories in the realms of gaming or...
I am not gonna fucking read a Polygon article, and I'm also not gonna give you hot tips, because you already covered Silent Hill, Downpour, Homecoming, and the Silent Hills game that never was. It's still my saddest moment in all video game history. It could have been great, PT. Alright. Well, like I said, I think next stream is where I'll start. I'm going to take some more notes. I'm going to write some more things down. I've been writing it all down physical because I think more creatively when I write on paper. But I will shoot you my idea, my pitch, and then we'll figure out where to go from there next time. And the usual research and whatnot. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Mike, for getting an NFT for Arthur, wherever he may be. I'm going to make sure those are all updated next stream. And join us on Sunday where we'll learn about the Lord. Bye.